on Max right now. It's definitely a must watch. I watched you get emotional during it. I've watched Manning get emotional during it. What was it like going through this story on that documentary? And Jimmy, it's a must watch if you have a chance.
Got it.
They talked to both of us before they came in. For me and David and Brian, and we all said the same thing. Said there's so much crap going on these. It keeps going on and on. The bad things, the bad things, the bad things. We're not going to do it. Uh, there's a lot of the good side that went on with them. And why doesn't anybody want to see that? Why doesn't anybody want to hear it? I don't know, but everything that comes out. There's a new deal coming out on A&E that I'm going to be on. They come in to Dallas the 21st, and I'm going to spend a couple of days with them. And supposedly, that's going to be exactly what the three of us want to get out there. Little things like how Carrie would call me and say it's time. Say, okay, I'll come pick you up. I would go pick him up and say, which one are we going to? And he would pick either Cook's Children or Parkland Memorial Hospital. And that's where we were going to spend the afternoon with the kids that are in there, and the families. And, when we got in there and back in the 80s, you couldn't move with a Von Erich before everybody went nuts. So, while he was in the rooms, the big rooms where all the kids were playing or parents were waiting for their children to be out of a surgery, I was out in the hallway blocking it and making sure, no one was trying to get in and do that. But I would peek in and Kerry would be on his knees praying with the family in the surgery room. Did that come out on anything? No.
No.
Come out on anything? No. I picked him up at the airport once and he could hardly walk. He'd torn a ligament. And I said, and he was booked at Cook's that night. And I said, Kerry, we can't do this. We've got to cancel. And he said, no. He said, we can't. He said, I'm not going to do it. Now, he could hardly walk. And so I called my surgeon that'd done a couple of my knee surgeries, and he said, well, get him in. So they shot up his knee, and he started to give Kerry a prescription, and Kerry said, no, I don't want it. He said, I want to be able to go through this. He said, I'll deal with that later. So, things like that. It wasn't Kerry was always wanting to pop a pill or do something. He could have gotten a prescription there, but he said, no, I don't want it. He said, let's go see the kids. And he had to be put his arm over my shoulder for me to get him out of the car and get him in. And, then he would try and walk normal when we got to the kids. And he stayed through the whole time. And, he died on the way home in pain. But I don't know why those things don't come out.
Well, I think it's important to share because you have that inside look. How emotional was it, not just for you, but for Kerry also, after spending all these times with these children, going through their problems, and this is an all-day thing. What was that like? What kind of pressure was that for Kerry?
Well, for both of us, it was a lot. We would, and this is kind of funny on the end. We were coming back one night, and Kerry said, I'm just not ready to go home yet. And I said, fine. So we pulled into it was either an El Chico or something. I can't remember which Mexican food place it was, but we got some snacks and some cold beer and just kind of relaxing and talking and not necessarily about that, but just not getting back to where we were doing it. So, we stayed there for about an hour. And Kerry, it was before we had the cell phones that you could carry. We had the pagers, and Kerry got a call from Kathy, his wife, and he had to go to the payphone. And I don't know why he did this. He never told me, but he came back and he was kind of laughing. And I said, what'd she want? He said, well, she wanted to know where we were and what we were doing. And I said, what'd you tell her? He said, I told her you had just broken up with your girlfriend and you were really upset. And I'm sitting here talking to you about it. I went, you did? He said, yeah. I said, did you forget that she fixed me up with her sister a couple of weeks ago? And he goes,
Oops.
and then he starts laughing like Carrie did. You know, and Carrie would start, you know, and that was the last time we went out.
Wow. You know, Bill, every Batman, every good guy needs a bad guy, needs a Joker. What about the Freebirds behind the scenes, that whole rock and roll circus thing? How was it behind the scenes with the Freebirds and the Von Erichs?
Hidden, but good. You know, I mean, when they were tight, you know, when I was going back and forth, you know, David or Carrie, one of them would give me a Christmas gift to give to one of the birds. You know, they were tight, you know, and they were crushed when both of them, when David and Carrie both passed. It was a really emotional thing for them.
Bill, it's not an easy question to answer. Let me give a brief disclaimer. Mike, as he said, we're, you know, up from the East Coast and stuff, but there was one Von Erich that I absolutely adored, and I felt that he was the one of and they were all great, obviously, but I felt that David was the one. Take me through your thought process as to what the public has been told about his death, and why do we still hear these ugly rumors? Any thoughts on you know, take us to, obviously you were crushed when David died. Any thoughts on what's been reported to the public?
Yeah, well, when he died, I was on Fritz's list to find. I had just gotten in town. It was Friday, and I had stopped at Lonnie's place. Lonnie was one of my security guys, bodyguards, and I was taking a shower in there, getting ready. He was getting off, and then we were going to head to the sportatorium. And I'm in the shower, and all of a sudden the shower curtain goes back, and it's Lonnie. And he said, you need to come out of here for a minute. And I'm going, I don't think so. He said, no, this is serious. Come out. So I got a towel and came out, and he said, you need to sit down. And I said, what? And that's when he told me about David. And he said, Fritz has been trying to find you all day. He's called your mom. He's called, everybody trying to get hold of you because he didn't want you to hear this on the radio. And that night we went to the sporting. We were in shock. Lonnie and I didn't talk all the way. In fact, we stopped, didn't say anything. I stopped at a convenience store because I knew I was going to have tears, and went in and got we bought sunglasses. Never said, let's go get sunglasses. We just did it. Wore them in, and it was the most miserable time I had. The fans went nuts that night, you know, crying and screaming. We couldn't do it. You know, we had to be us. We had to take care of everything, to do what we were supposed to be doing. And the next night we were in a big show. The next night, and it was about a week before I was going down the road, and it just hit me one day. And I pulled over and cried for 30 minutes before I could do anything. You know, it was that tough. And the same thing with Carrie.
You know, I was just thinking about that because, you know, you spent all this time with that family, and, you know, for most of them, they had that unfortunate demise. How were you able to cope with all this tragedy yourself personally? These were your brothers.
Well, they were, and it's like David knew the night he left, and you've got that picture of us at dinner. I think you showed it a while ago. That was the night before he was leaving for Japan, and we did it was at the sportatorium. It was a TV night. Yeah, that's it. And he came out and just stood in front of me for a minute and just kind of straightened my cowboy hat and patted it down like that and turned me around, patted me on the back. He said, whenever you're ready. And it's like he knew. He'd never done that before. It's like he knew something was going to happen. I mean, that sounds dumb, but we never hugged. We never, we'd be laughing or cutting up, waiting for him to say, okay, hit the ring. And then we go. That was me in Sunshine in that picture.
Which we got to get into. There's so much to get into, but let's keep going.
But anyway, it was a terrible time. It really was. And having to and I don't mean that the way it sounds, but having to put up with the fans going through it, because they were crushed, and we didn't get any time off. I mean, we were boom, boom, boom doing matches every night.
Bill, let me ask you this. That funeral, again, we only saw whatever film footage we've seen and pictures. What was that whole site like at that point?
I just got goosebumps thinking about that. I was driving one of the limos. I had Brian Adias and I had Sunshine, and I can't remember who else was in the limo behind. But it took place at my church where my dad was a Sunday school teacher and things like that. They put TV cameras up outside. People were lined up all the way around outside. And this wasn't a small church. And when we got ready to leave, I didn't know this was going to happen like this. Police cars let us out, which, back then they did that in funerals, When we got on the highway, all of the highway was blocked from Denton to the other side of Dallas, which was over 30 miles. Police all the way had that highway blocked. There was not one car that we passed or one car that could pass us. And we were running, the limo I was driving, we were running 80 miles an hour to get there. I mean, we had police all around us with lights and sirens going. We had them blocking the entry. It was just amazing. And then when we got to the cemetery, I don't know how all those people got there before we did, but it was just a madhouse, people screaming, people crying, people, going all over. And I was one of the pallbearers. It carries too. And it was a learning experience and not one you want to do again.
You said
I always think about you as again, we were WWE guys up here in New York, and then WCCW with the Von Erichs was a huge deal. But I always remember you as that transition guy that, went to USWA. But first I wanted to ask you, did you see the Iron Claw? And if you did, what were your thoughts of it?
Bits and pieces of it. I couldn't sit down and watch the whole thing because the bits and pieces I've watched were so untruthful. It just Hollywood made another movie is what that boils down to. Now,
what pissed you off about it? Can you?
It wasn't a true story. I was there with those boys for a long time, and I ran that office. I worked with Fritz, and Fritz wasn't that old mean crabby motherfucker that mistreated his kids. Okay. He was not that way, and the only way those kids was mistreated is he gave them every and anything they wanted. And the boys certainly did not appreciate it. And I pulled Kerry out a little bit from that equation because Kerry and I got along, and Kerry was more understanding the difference between good and bad, so to speak. And Kerry's boat got overloaded and he checked out, which I don't know if a lot of people could go through what that guy went through and not check out. But
was it just too much fame? I mean, you're telling me that, from what you knew of him, he really had his stuff together. What made it go wrong for him?
Too much shit, too much drugs. The drugs, the demons, I call the drugs the demons. The demons had taken over the boy. he was riding the white horse high, and then when the kid hit the damn parked police car on his motorcycle and lost his foot, he still pulled it off. He come back and worked, and you couldn't. He had a little bit of a limp, but he could still perform. But the pain demons, and the other demons, and drugs were so rampant in world class that everybody's bag looked like they had a portable Walgreens drugstore in it.
Eric,
And
why do you think Kevin always gets a pass though? You know, you hear about Mike, Chris, David, Kerry, but Kevin always seems to get the pass. And
what do you mean? What do you mean getting the pass?
You know, when they talk about the boys doing drugs, right? As a fan, you see Kevin as the more clean guy, but as you get to talk to more of the wrestlers, Kevin seems to have been just as bad, if not worse.
It's not worse.
Yeah, Eric. Over the years, Kevin being the survivor, of course, of the family, to the fan, he was almost presented. Mike, back me if you can. Almost like Derek Jeter to us as Yankee fans.
Sure.
He's Captain America. I've always felt the Von Erichs are the closest thing to the Dallas Cowboys. If wrestling has a great family,
they were.
Them.
They were.
Thank you.
They were. They were damn rock stars in Dallas market. I mean, they were. Any place they went, they had to mingle and sign autographs and were recognized. And the people were. I mean, Fritz had them over like gods to the fans in the world class wrestling area. I mean, they were over as much as Bruno was over in New York. Those boys were over, if not more over, in Dallas in that market.
Eric, you said the drug scene was rampant in Texas. Was, the kids with the drugs in the Von Erich family, and Fritz was known for being strict. Obviously, not as strict as the movie portrayed, like you're saying. But isn't Fritz aware of the drug scene? Then he's got to be.
Yeah. Now, when I got there, this had been going on a long time. David had already passed away, and from ODing in Japan. Intestinal whatever is a bullshit story. David OD'd in Japan. But when I got there, Fritz was older, and the word that comes to my mind of Fritz telling me, Eric, I am so burned out. I've had enough. I'm so burned out. Fritz told, when Jerry Jarrett came to Dallas to meet with Fritz to make the deal to buy the territory, Fritz told him, Jerry, and this is right from their mouth to me, no hearsay bullshit, okay? Jerry, if you make this deal, you are the dumbest person I've ever met in my whole life. You need to get back to the airport, get on a plane, and go back to Tennessee. My boys are nothing but drug heads. They'll never be anything but drug heads, and you need to just go home. But Fritz, he was burned out. He was tired. He'd been worried to death. My God, he'd lost these kids, and I pray to God I never go through half of what that man went through. But he was so burned out by then. About anything could happen. He had a deaf ear, and he was even having trouble at home with the wife and so forth. And I don't even want to get into that because I love.
I was going to ask you about that, Eric. Did the wife blame Fritz for the death of her children?
Not in front of me. She never did. No, but God, how'd I say it without opening a can of worms? You hit the nail on the head somewhat by saying that.
Understood.
I got to ask you this too.
Wait a minute. But Fritz never ever did anything intentionally other than to try to help those boys, other than try to help them. And after you beat an old dog up so damn much, that dog's going to bite you, or he's just going to run away. And I really think that's probably what could have happened. And I know Kevin is going to come fucking unglued when he sees this interview. But you know what, Kevin? You know I'm not bullshitting. You know I'm telling the truth. And I like you as much as you like me, which ain't very damn much. So, blah.
I mean, you're basically just telling us that Fritz became numb and indifferent and beaten down by a sport that he had put his life into, and he was comfortably done.
Yeah, he didn't know
At that
what else.
point.
He even had told me one day, he said, I don't know what else I can do. I
Right.
don't know what to do. I don't know
Right.
what to do. And
I got to ask you this though: when Jerry Jarrett did buy that territory, how much did he buy it for? And I got to agree. Like I was thinking to myself, why would this guy buy this territory?
he made a fortune.
Did he really?
Yes, God, we made some money. But I don't. I can't remember the whole.
Well, do me a favor. How do you make money? Right, the Von Erichs, they're all gone. There's nothing left. How were you able to turn that around then?
It was hard, brother. It was hard. But the initial money up front was hardly anything from Jarrett and Fritz. Jerry did, when Jerry came in, I remember the first days there, we're going through a stack of bills a foot high on the desk upstairs. And I'm wanting to think, and I know I'm not exactly right, but I'm not far off. Jerry paid about $130,000 in back bills. I know I went with Jerry over to Alfred or John. I can't remember the old man across the way there that owned the Sportatorium. And they were so far behind in rent, he was ready to kick them out. And he hadn't. I mean, months behind in rent. And he didn't because Fritz and him had been buddies, and Fritz had been so loyal to him and vice versa over the years. And I told him, I think it was Alfred was his name. I said, Mr. Alfred, I said, how much do they owe? And it was right at $100,000 in back rent. And I said, this man here is going to take it over if we can work out a deal with you. And I said, he's going to write you a check. And I said, a good check and pay all that back rent. But we need to work out a deal on upcoming rent. And he said, well, what's on your mind? And I said, we need a per ticket rent. So you're making money when we're making money. But if we're not making any money, we're not going broke paying you $2,000 a week in rent. And he said, well, that's fair. And it was his idea. He said, how about $1 a ticket? And I said, looked at Jerry and he kind of grinned. I said, that's great. That's great. So we got the Sportatorium for $1 a ticket. And we agreed to start filming our Channel 11 TV at the Sportatorium on Saturday mornings for $1 a ticket. So the building was happy. They got their money that they were owed, and Jerry paid all the back bills and all that. And we took off. And, the syndication, Jerry Jarrett even bailed the syndication guy, Max Andrews, out, loaned him $50,000. And I remember it was 50 because Jerry called me and asked me, Max wants to borrow $50,000 to stay in business, and he's our syndication guy. He's doing all the filming. What should I do? And I said, well, I think you should let him borrow it. If he says he'll pay you back, he's always been honest with me. So, Jerry probably went in $250,000 off, the initial startup costs.
I got to tell you, I'm amazed, Erich. I'm amazed that I would never have guessed that he made money off that deal.
Yeah. I brought in some of my guys, so to speak, and we shot the angle, and I could read I could read people, and the without being ugly, but the people in Texas were burned out and tired of the Von Erichs. They wanted a new babyface to get behind. And so I'm thinking, okay, Al Perez. I'm thinking different thoughts. I called Jerry Jarrett, and he said, Erich, I thought you were smart. And I said, I am. And he said, you've got to have a baby face you can trust. He said, you can't trust the boys, talking about the Von Erichs. He said, they're not going to help you in any way. You can't trust them. And he said, you got to have a baby face you can trust. And I said, well, can I have Bill Dundee? And I'll bring him down here. He said, you got to have one you can trust. Who is the one person? Who's the one person that you can trust above anybody else on this world? I said, me. And I said, oh, no. I said, I am not putting myself on top and try to book through. He said, you have to. Jerry made me push myself. And then I started just reading between the lines with the fans, going out talking to them and stuff. And, I went in there as a is he or is he not gay heel when I first went to Dallas, to turning into a babyface that replaced the Von Erichs. Figure that one out.
Amazing. Listen, I want to close the subject, but
no, you don't.
Well, no. I have a few more things, but why do you and Kevin not get along?
Kevin blamed me for setting up the Jerry Jarrett deal, the original deal. And to be perfectly honest, I had no idea that Kerry was even talking to Jerry Jarrett behind the scenes. Kerry set up that deal with Jerry Jarrett and Fritz, not Erich. Kerry Von Erich set that deal up, but Kevin always blamed me for doing it. And instead of being, no matter who did it, instead of Kevin being happy that it was set up, because before long he started getting $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 checks every month on his ownership, and he wasn't happy about it. He was mad because he didn't have control.
Wow. Well, what are you going to do? Wow. And by the way, the Confederate flag to me is Leonard Skinner. Go ahead. Get mad. That's it.
Huge mark for WCCW, Von Erichs, Freebirds.
Yeah.
Right? You cut your teeth there, I think, right?
Don't say teeth. Vince is getting,
whatever.
Go on.
Got any Von Erich and Freebird stories?
Oh my God, Freebird stories. Yeah, I had Buddy Roberts try to pee on me one time.
Nice.
Because it's supposed to be
entertaining.
great when a Freebird pees on you. It's supposed to be cool.
It's not cool.
Yeah, I don't know how cool it is, but
I couldn't even get a cup of
I
Michael
got into
Hayes.
wrestling because I saw Michael Hayes on TV. That's what made me get into wrestling.
Which I don't blame
Michael
you.
Hayes.
I love
He is great, and I love him. And speaking of Confederate flag, I want that robe of his that
There
he
you go.
wears
Oh my
with the
God.
Confederate
There you go.
flag. And I
There you
found
go.
out that his first wife has it, and I've been trying to find her to get it because I would frame that thing and put that in my
we gotta
house.
Get that. How awesome would that?
That would be
How
so
about
cool.
Kerry? Like I always loved.
Kerry
was he
was-
like a god?
Kerry was, he was like a guy. He could walk anywhere, and if you weren't a wrestling fan, you would think he was somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Oh,
because
absolutely.
he looked like
Rock star.
he was a rock star. He
Rock
looked like a
star.
god.
Yep.
What was Fritz like?
Fritz was a wonderful man. He treated me really well, paid me really well, was very honest with me. He was a great man.
How about, did you get to come across David?
No,
You
David
did.
had
It was
already
a little
passed
bit
away.
before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
passed
boy.
away before I got there.
Oh, boy. There's obviously huge differences. Now, you've been to, of course, WCCW and my personal favorite, ECW. What's up, Paulie? Can you tell me the differences between working for such different promotions, like what the vibe was in each place for you?
Oh gosh. Well, it was just totally different because it was a different time.
Mm-hmm.
Different time period. Like back in world class, I would have done everything for free. I got paid to do something I would have done for free. It was great. ECW, you had to pay me,
How'd that work out with
or
Paul?
I wouldn't show up.
Were you bouncing any checks?
No.
Screw you?
Never bounce a check on me.
Look at you.
Nice. Look
Yeah,
at Paul. Look
yeah.
at her. Look at
What's
Paul.
your
I got out though. I left before all that happened.
Oh, there you go. Your timing was right, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't it amazing that you love the sport so much you would have did it for free, and then all of a sudden it wore on you that it just became a business?
Yeah.
Does that hurt
It's
in
a
a certain
shame.
way?
It's a shame.
How
Wow.
much of the fan in you would you say died as you became more?
No, I still got the fan in
Okay,
me,
good,
but
good.
but for me to go out there and do anything now, it's like no, I got to get paid.
Sure. She knows her value. Absolutely.
Without a doubt. Bill, one more tougher questions, right? Suicide is looked at in so many different ways, understanding people's pain, thing like that. But can I ask you, when Kerry took his life, you probably had a bunch of emotions, but were you angry at Kerry?
Not really, because he was going through so much. I mean, angry at the situation, yeah, I was, but angry at Kerry. He he made a bad decision. With the girls as young as they were, with the family, he wouldn't have been in that big of a problem anyway. And he talked about committing suicide all the time. He would say me, and I'd jump on him, and he would just say, he said, "I'm going to commit suicide. I'm going to kill myself." No, you're not. That's dumb. He called me right before he did it. I was testifying in a court in Dallas, Texas, and he got me on my pager, and I went to the payphone, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I told him, and he said, "Okay." He said, "You have any plans later?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, let's go to the indoor golf or go-kart track," which we went to a lot. That was one of my clients. And he said, "Then let's go to the Wild Turkey," which was a restaurant bar that we always went to, and get something to eat and have a couple of drinks. And I said, "Fine." I said, "I'll text you when I'm on the way out." 30 minutes later, the girl that was one of the, she took care of the kids. She wasn't a babysitter. I mean, she was, the kids called her second mom, like I was the brother. She called me crying, or texted me, and I called her back. And she was crying, and I said, "Kerry killed himself, didn't he?" And she's screaming, "Yeah, he did. And so I just went in the courtroom and told him, I said, I'm gone. And got in the car and left and went straight to Fritz's house. But it was just a terrible thing. He stopped to see Fritz and talk to Fritz and tell Fritz how much he loved him. Not these exact words, but that type of thing. And borrowed Fritz's Jeep and said, "I just want to go out and run around in the field and relax a little bit." And when he didn't come back, that's when Fritz went out looking for him, and that's when Fritz found him, where he put the gun right to his chest and shot him.
Another tough question. Do you feel like after all this travesty and that Doris blamed Fritz for what happened to her children?
It's been said that, the last year that Fritz was alive, I spent a lot of time with him. Every Friday, we would go to this Chinese place to eat every Friday afternoon, evening. And then on Sunday morning, before I'd go meet my parents at church, I would meet him at, what's the name? Old Buffet, Old Western Buffet, Old West Buffet, something like that. Killer place. I wish it was still there. And I would meet him, and we'd go through the buffet and have breakfast before I'd head off to church to meet my parents. And he would stop on the way, and he would get the Dallas Morning News, Fort Worth Star Telegram, Denton Record Chronicle, and one other newspaper. And we would eat and talk. And then when I left to go meet my parents, then he would read the newspapers and have his own thing. He would call me, and we would sometimes just go riding around in the Jeep. Sometimes he just wanted to go see what I was doing. One time, bringing it back up with Doris, I was over at the house, and she pulled up, and I said, "Oh, I got to go." And, this was Dad saying, "No, you sit your butt down. You're going to sit here and watch this." And I'm going, "Oh, man, this ain't going to be good." But, he just wanted me to stay and watch him be nice. but short story long, I think everybody just was kind of broken up at that point, and she just wanted to get away and start a new life. And but it did kill Fritz. It was something that really, really hurt him in a big way.
On the lighter side, Phil DeCesare is asking you, Bill, were you there the night Kerry joined Rush on stage for Tom Sawyer?
No, I wasn't.
I didn't even know that happened, Jimmy. Did you know that happened? That
trying to
Kerry Von
figure- I'm
Erich
trying to
joined
figure-
Rush?
I'm trying to figure out what instrument he played. What, he sing? Kerry singing Tom
I have no
Sawyer?
idea. I didn't even know it was there. Oh my
Interesting.
God.
I'm getting. I'm still getting over Bill moonlighting on Sunshine. Never mind.
I wish you could find the picture.
I gotta take my gimmick off to look through it. I gotta
Hang on a minute. Just a second. I'll pull it up.
It would have been fun if I had no inhibitions whatsoever. Yeah, it would have been awesome. If I was a guy, yeah,
definitely. So let me ask you this then. Considering what Vince McMahon has gone through and your grandfather's gone through, we know all the drug issues. A lot of people in W. It's not just the Von Erich family. We got Chris Adams, Gino Hernandez. The list is pretty long in that area. The WWE. Do these promoters have to do a better job in the health and wellness of their talent?
yeah. I mean, I think they're doing better now. From what I've heard that they're doing a lot better with that. But I hate to put it all on them, but yeah, I think the kind of person that goes into wrestling too tends to have some tendencies, probably. But yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? But I think WWE is doing better with having people on staff to help people talk about mental issues that they're experiencing. And I know Daddy was drug tested when he was in WWE, but it didn't. I mean, it didn't help. I don't know how he was still wrestling, but
I always found it amazing that he was able to be in such great. Again, me and Jimmy and I were just talking about this last week, right? Probably, Arnold Schwarzenegger had one of the greatest bodies of all time, but your father was Arnold Schwarzenegger-like. I mean, the perfect body, the perfect face, everything.
He was. Yeah.
How does a guy, again, only speculation, but how does a guy look that great and do cocaine or whatever else he was doing? Like, how does that mix and match? Like, how do you stay in the shape you're at and do all that other stuff?
I mean, I know my dad worked out every single day. That was just normal for me. Daddy always was working out. I was always at the gym with him when he was in town with us. So I know he worked out like no other. And he also had great genetics too, to help with that. And he ate like really well. I mean, protein wise, Daddy ate great. I think that helped. But yeah, and I think a lot of my dad's drug issues were pills. So I don't think there's a lot of calories in those. So I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't know. But he worked out like a beast.
Well, that's why I want to parlay this into when Brian was on. He said, you could take steroids, but he had never seen a guy work out like Kerry Von Erich did. Talk to us about Brian. What is Brian like? How do you know Brian, and like what's he like as a person?
Brian is so genuine. He has a beautiful heart, and he still loves my dad to this day, and just attributes a lot of where he is to the relationship that he had with my dad back in the day. But when I was little, really I hadn't seen Brian since I was a little girl, before the whole premiere thing happened with before the movie thing came about. And because I always kind of like, my mom had us kind of hid away, and I preferred it that way, honestly. But yeah, so when I was little, I just remember Brian being at the house and playing pool with my dad and playing darts, or, just kind of being there hanging out, and he wanted me to call him Uncle Brian, and like really bothered me and pissed me off as a little bratty 7-year-old girl. And he'd always joke that like, I'm going to marry you someday. Like, you know how that is when you're a little kid, it just pisses you off. So, yeah, like I was annoyed with him as a little kid, but as a grown up, he just loves Lacey and I like he loved our dad, which is really, really cool. And to have a piece of my dad, because I consider Brian a piece of my dad, still here is really great. He's got all the great stories. And yeah, I mean, he's there for us for whatever we need. If I just, if I text him, he texts me back just like that. Even when he was in the hospital with those surgeries, like, just really appreciate that.
So I got to ask you about this. You had a popular show on YouTube. I used to watch it I think it was on Tuesdays or Thursdays. I used to watch it. It was fantastic.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. So why? I don't want you to go too deep into it because we spoke about it a little, but maybe you can share with the fans because they're probably all wondering what happened. It was great. I mean, unbelievable.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that, by the way, because Kristen and I really put our heart and soul in that show. And we had been talking about doing that show for a long time. And we just needed mental health these talks are just so important. And for people to just see that everyone has issues and we can all just talk about it is so cool. And that's what we wanted on our show. And man, we had so many great messages from people being helped, and we wanted to keep doing it. So December came around. We had been doing the show every Tuesday night. It was a lot for me with my 2 kids and my husband traveling so much. And I just was like, let's take a break in December, just to get through the holidays and have some fun with our families. And Nick was traveling so much. And so Eric and Kristen were cool with that. Well, then there was just, I don't want to say too much, but I'll say that there was a falling out, I guess, between our producer Erich, who's still a good friend of mine, and my cousin Kristen, who's still my family. I love her very, very much, and my other cousins too. There was just a falling out between them. I stayed out of it, and unfortunately, and if they ever want to talk about it together, that's fine. But it just is what it is there. But anyway, I stayed out of it, but unfortunately our podcast got in the crossfire, and, other business stuff affected it. And unfortunately, in the heat of a bad moment, the YouTube channel was deleted by our producer. And, there's just a lot of probably not such great decisions being made on both sides there. And then, people got hurt and upset. And, yeah, like I said, I'm still friends with Erich. And, I just can't imagine doing a podcast without all 3 of us. I mean, I thought Erich was great. And I love being on the podcast with my cousin Kristen. It's just after that, I was kind of like, well, I'm not going to just do it with Erich only. I'm not going to just do it with Kristen only, at least not at this point. And so I just thought maybe this is God saying, hey, you said what you wanted to say. You helped a lot of people. Now go be mom and focus on your kids. And, if cool people like Monte the Pharaoh want to talk to you, then cool, let's do that. But,
well,
yeah,
I'm going to say this. I think once you settle in a little more, you guys should really do it again. I really do think so, because I feel terrible that you lost so much great stuff. I mean, when you had your mother on, I mean, I was glued. I mean, the way she told those stories, and it's just a shame. I really think that you and your cousin really should do it again, and somehow work it out, because there was a lot of great messages, and the people you had on there and the way you guys discussed it, I thought was fantastic. So I'll just weigh in on that one. I want to end
those
the
people
interview.
were great.
I want to end the interview if you could talk about your children. Now, Jimmy, you see this family. You see Lacey, you see Holly, you see Kerry, you see Kevin. This family's got the genetics. What's your family like?
Well, my husband was my personal trainer. I met him when I was 18. I got mono in high school, and I was trying to go to state. I mean, I had already gone to state. I wanted to run track in college, and I got mono. So Nick was hired to get me back in shape. Well, anyway, I ended up marrying him. So he's amazing. He was a Dallas fighter for 10 years, and now he does sales and with firefighter stuff. He's kicking booty, and he's amazing. A great husband. The guy for me. You talk about a person who's been a little bit traumatized as a kid, who can't open up emotionally and only wants to smile all the time and can't go deep. That was me. Lots of walls up. And then you have an over communicator, overly emotional guy over here, my husband, who completely has made me a better wife, better mom, better friend, better daughter, better everything, because I can actually communicate instead of just closing everything off. I give that all to my husband. So I had this amazing guy holding us together. And then we have two amazing kids. Coda is 6, reminds me of my dad. He's got the green eyes, very intelligent. Just like my dad, he's like a puppy. He's just like, sees all the good in everything, wakes up with a smile, just a good kid. And then my daughter Evie's she's 4, and she's every bit a 4-year-old little girl. She can dance, and she reminds me of my sister, because she just kind of marches to her own beat and just says F you to anything that I want her to do. She just does whatever she wants. So I'm living the dream with these kids. I'm homeschooling, and we're going on lots of family trips, and just living it up over here. Got a lot of great family around here in East Texas.
She's living it up, and you and me are stuck where we're at. What's going on here, buddy? Pharaoh's final question. This is Holly, where Jimmy Pharaoh comes off script. He may ask you crazy stuff like, what color socks do you wear? I have no idea what's going to come out of the dude's mouth.
What the hell would I ask her what color socks she wears for? You get weirder every week. Oh, my God. I can't. And I'm not stuck. I'm living in Panama City Beach, Florida. I got surfboards and oceans all around.
That sounds great.
I do live in a gay
Jimmy,
house, but let's not.
You've heard misery loves company, right? So we're partners. Yeah. If I'm miserable, you'll be miserable with me. Okay?
Yeah, you're
At least
right.
act like it, please.
Yeah. Well, it usually comes through osmosis assimilation anyway with you, but okay.
Big words.
Yeah, big words. Yeah.
I don't even know what that means, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, over the years, have you been able to, you did lose your father young. Have you been able to go back, and thanks to the internet, there's the whole library is out there, or at least a good portion. Have you been able to go back and actually watch your dad and your uncle and be able to sit there and go, oh my God, and I'm sure your kids one day are going to turn to you and go, tell us more about, Pops and stuff. Have you been able to sit down and get to the point where you can watch matches and stuff? Do you have a favorite match? What a nerdy question, but okay, what is it?
Oh, I don't know what my favorite match is. Oh gosh, favorite match? Probably one with Mr. Perfect, just because
okay,
I remember that so well, just because I remember it. I love seeing my dad come out there and just kill it. Yeah. I get so fired up when I watch my dad wrestle, because if I really sit there in it, I can feel myself being there as a kid. And that feeling, that adrenaline rush that I got, like watching my dad go out, was the coolest thing. And it's really cool that I can still feel that as a grown up. So when I show them to my kids and I like really get into it, I'm like, oh my gosh, did you see that? Did you see Granddad? Did you see that drop kick? And the kids Coda's like so into it. And we wrestle in the living room. At the lake house, we have this big mattress we put between the two couches. And I mean, we go to town wrestling. I have to be careful now. But yeah, we watch videos of I know. Daddy was so amazing. I mean, he was my hero, and there'll never be anyone that I think's better than my dad. He was just so great. And I just don't even know how to say it, but my kids, I think, are feeling it. And like yesterday, I've had some of his his action figures up in a closet, and I was like, gosh, why do I have these up here? And so I got them out for the kids yesterday. They're still in the boxes, but they've got them both up in their rooms. They're so proud of them. And I've showed them videos of Lacey too. And I have to be careful what Evie sees, because they're a little risque, but I'm like, here's Aunt Lacey. This is so cool.
Never mind. Next video.
Yeah, whoops. Don't be like that. But
yeah, that's great.
However.
Oh my God.
However,
Holly, I want to thank you for taking the time out, especially on your vacation. It's an honor, and thank you for
I enjoyed
coming
it
on our show. It really means the world to us. I mean, it just is incredible. You've got an incredible family, and you're an incredible person. You've been nothing but a professional and a wonderful lady. So thank you very much again.
thank you.
Thank you, guys. I enjoyed y'all. I really enjoy the way you guys are. It makes me laugh, because I wish I could be a little more like that sometimes. Just off the wall.
Well, just put on
you guys would love Lacey.
Just put on 200 pounds, Holly, and shave your head. You'll be good to go. Just do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that'll go over good.
No,
Where's your husband? He's gone.
That'll go over great.
Yeah.
I'll let you know how my life is after that. Yeah.
You can't just ask you to put on
Carrie
a
Von
baseball
Erich's
cap
daughter
backwards.
spirals. After
you,
the show with
Monte
Monte
the
The Pharaoh, she goes downhill.
Thank you. She goes downhill. Family gone. There you go. That's it. Holly, thank you again. Jimmy, you want to send us out?
Thank you,
You've
guys.
been watching
Thank you.
Monte and the Pharaoh with Holly. Oh, she's over this way. Oh, these stupid cameras. Yo, we'll see you in a couple of minutes with the next show. Later. Professional.
Damn right.
Interesting.
He
All
was
right.
a professional.
Settle this one between me and my partner. Who was the
Okay.
greater Von Erich, David or Kerry?
No. David, by far,
Thank you.
was
Damn it.
Well, no, it's a two answers thing.
Oh,
David,
what are you,
David,
Switzerland? Wait a minute. What are you, Switzerland?
no,
Come on.
not at all. Just listen
Okay.
to me.
Okay.
If David had not OD'd in Japan,
Okay.
David had a business mind like Fritz, and
Interesting.
world class would still be in business today with David running it, or would have not been out of business really for that long because David got too old and decided to shut it down. World Class would have survived if David had survived. Working wise in the ring, David was spot on, but Kerry had that physique, and if Kerry liked you and would listen to you, you could lead Kerry through a match that would blow the roof off of the damn any arena, Madison Square Garden. If Kerry liked you, or not like, trusted you. If Kerry trusted you, you could tear down, blow any roof off of any arena anywhere with him. I have, and Kerry trusted me. Hell, I got Kerry one time, and this is how I got Dallas turned around. Juan Reynosa, Taurus Bulba, short Mexican, but he was my buddy, big, stocky, bald head with a ponytail. Called him Taurus Bulba. His first night in Dallas, he laid Kerry out with the iron claw. Kerry got color, and we carried him out. Fritz went ballistic. But business started picking up big time. And Kerry even got color. And I had Chris Adams, and I don't remember who, Jimmy Jack Funk. I had 3 or 4 baby faces on standby waiting for my cue to send them to the ring to make sure Kerry stayed down, selling that claw. Because, Von Erich's the only one's ever used the claw in Dallas. And Kerry just got bloodied up and carried out from the claw. Man, we had the people's attention. We had their attention.
Erich, you were known for bleeding like crazy over there. I mean, was that your call? There you go, folks. There it is right there. Look at that mileage.
Red mix green.
Yeah. I mean, was that your call? I mean, why are you always doing that to yourself? What's going on over there?
Well, a good baby face has got to convince everybody in there that heel is a rough, tough, mean son of a buck. Is kicking his ass, but you got to be able to come back and pull it off. The people can't lose their confidence in you, but you've got to get sympathy from that fan. They've got to feel what you're portraying, you're feeling, and once you get to there, you've got them. They're going to buy a ticket. They're going to be back next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bled a lot everywhere. I wonder I even got any blood left in my body.
That's what I was about to say, man. You were a bleeder, my God. But these are all young people, and they're like, "You're a liar." No, we just don't remember. That's the issue here. So
Metallica?
I think that's the listen. In his mind,
Metallica?
Maybe he thought he was in Metallica. I don't know.
Come on now.
What do you think of that, Gary? What do you think of that answer?
Hey.
What I think is, are you challenging my story about asking for a raise from McMahon Sr.? Because I was.
No, I'm not saying it's not true, but in actuality, you might not have gotten $100. It might have been $61.50. But we got it. As we get older, we exaggerate. You know what I mean?
And
he was worth 100. What are you getting at?
It could have been 100.5. Absolutely. You know
what
I mean?
That wasn't bad in $1978.
What does that equate to now? What is 100? What does $100 equate to now? From back then,
what do you think?
I need to go online to figure that out.
Yeah, we need that calculator, but I think it's probably about $800, man. It's not a bad payday. What are you thinking, Gary? You're making $800 to announce for 3 hours.
He's still getting gypped. What are you talking about? You're terrible, man.
I got to ask you this now before we go. How was Vern?
Considering the wrestlers didn't get paid anything for those TVs, it wasn't bad.
Oh my God, they did. Oh, what? How was Vern Gagne towards you? How was Vern Gagne towards you?
He was aces. He was very good toward me. Very generous.
More than $100.
He brought me out. No. He paid me well. He brought me out for 2 pay-per-views. Is that what you said? Maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah, no, I was saying more than $100. I was hoping more than $100, Gary.
These are pay-per-views I did. The one Wrestle Rock at the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome.
Yeah,
and
wow.
Super Clash 3 in Chicago. And then I announced for him on a regular basis in Atlantic City for his ESPN show. the debut of that show before it moved to Las Vegas. Yeah, he was always good to me.
All right,
No complaints about
I
him.
have to ask another question because you just keep on bringing stuff that's interesting. Super Clash 3. So I believe that's Kerry Von Erich, Jerry Lawler, right? How was Kerry
Right.
Von? I'm a huge Kerry Von Erich fan. Huge Kerry Von Erich fans in general. How was Kerry Von Erich and your experiences with Kerry?
I didn't have many experiences with Kerry. That was the humdinger all though that night. He arrived with his daughter, who I think might be wrestling now, or maybe was wrestling. Or
Yeah, she was.
something.
She was wrestling. That's Lacey Von Erich. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was loaded. And I remember, so we're in the locker room, and we're sitting on folding chairs, and so he's sitting across from me, and I was a little uncomfortable with his young daughter in the locker room, but he wasn't, she wasn't, so, and no one said anything. So, because the guys are there in all states of undress.
Right.
So, so I thought, well, maybe I'll like start a conversation. We had never met, so I tried to have a conversation with him, and it didn't work out too well because, like, I would ask him a question, and his answer had nothing to do with the question. It was so, and in the meantime, as I'm trying to have a conversation, as I'm trying to talk to him, he's lacing up his boots, his wrestling boots. And when he finishes, he sits back and looks at me, gives me a very nice smile, stands up, and falls flat on his face. And the reason that he fell flat on his face is that when he was lacing up his wrestling boots, the laces were going around the leg of the chair. So he was tying himself to the chair, and when he got up, he just went boom. Anyway, and that was the night that he cut himself under his arm before he wrestled.
Could you define? Could you define loaded? Define loaded. You said loaded.
I can't because I wasn't there when he got loaded, so I don't know.
Wait, so
loaded.
Jimmy, I got to ask Gary though. So when he cuts himself, when he had his blade, and that's how he cut underneath his arm.
Yeah, he forgot that he had taped the blade to his finger, and he was itchy, so he went to scratch himself, and he just sliced himself.
And they had to work that into the match, right? Because they couldn't get it patched up, right? Wow, right. That's an incredible story. By the way, what did you think of the movie The Iron Claw? Did you have a chance to watch it?
I did not see it.
Okay.
I did not see it.
All right, Jimmy. Well, Gary, thanks again. You're the best. We love having you on. Thank you for what you've done for the industry. Thank you for all you've done. You're quite the gentleman. Jimmy, you want to send us out, please?
Yes, sir.
You've been watching. Guys. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you again, Gary.
Most welcome. And better than Samantha Irvin, you've been watching Monte the Pharaoh with the great Gary Michael Capetta. Till next time, later.
In my dreams, Always.
Brian, I'm sorry to stay on the subject, but unfortunately, the Von Erich family, sadly enough, has parallels to the Graham family. Recently, of course, there's been a big buzz about the movie The Iron Claw. Did you get a chance to see it?
3 times.
3 times. What's your take at the end of the day on the movie?
I thought they were too hard on Fritz.
Okay.
And
why too hard on Fritz?
They left Mike out of the story.
That's a ridiculous thing. I agree with that. But why so hard on Fritz? Was Fritz not like that?
I'm gonna tell you something. He was disciplined, but he was never abusive. I mean, I've seen him, almost all the time. He had a scotch or whatever, but he was the hottest I've ever seen him is when he found the marijuana field that David and I had grown.
That's great.
Oh, you guys are like Cheech and Chong, huh? Not good. Not good. Go to your room. Go to your room, Brian.
Jimmy,
We actually didn't smoke it. It just Al Madrill told us if we grew it at the time,
you could sell it. You could sell it.
I'm not saying we didn't do that.
Al Madrill from Olympic Auditorium.
Al Madrill. I got to tell you the story. I've never told him.
Good. This is so good.
Al said that he's got this guy that can get rid of
right. Brian,
I don't even know how the subject. I don't know how the subject.
I don't know how we got here, but at least you followed rule number 1: never get high on your own supply.
There you go.
Unbelievable. Well, you saw the movie 3
times. Wait, Jimmy,
movie...
hold on. You're letting them off too fast. So Al tells you to sell it, right? Did you guys start selling it, or Fritz make you rip it up out of the ground and throw it out?
You're not dealing weed.
No. It was like a quick thing. I had a green thumb. And you asked, Brian Adias?
Yes,
Brian
we've
Adias?
had Brian on the show. Great guy.
Yeah, great guy. Ask Brian. He will testify right now.
Kevin, his web's getting bigger.
They were like trees, brother. Like trees. I had never grown that before. I had never grown that. And Kevin left.
Oh my God.
Carrie's left a bright yellow water hose from Carrie's house. Kevin, yes, Kevin, who's in Texas.
Mike, he's my hero.
I love Kevin.
I got to ask this before you go on, Jimmy. The one question is, at some point, did Doris finally blame Fritz for all that went on with the family? Did she blame him like the movie kind of portrays at the end?
Yes. I mean, I wasn't there, but I could tell, that she was very upset. Fritz, Jack. But Doris was a wonderful lady, guys. I mean, the salt of the earth. Not only, every night she would have dinner prepared when we'd come home. It was on the stove in the house, just perfect. She would talk so eloquently about just such a wide variety of subjects. She was so knowledgeable. She was such a lady. It was like an amazing, amazing woman. She has to be, to raise these children, to go through the suffering that she's already gone through. Her first son, Jackie, got electrocuted in the pool, before Kevin. So she's been around the block. And her way of raising children was obviously different than Jack's way. Kids don't come with instructions. They don't. It's one of the most difficult things to do. Think about all us guys, what we did and snuck and did, and oh my gosh, our poor parents worried their butts off. Or if we were fortunate enough to have parents, and I don't mean to insult anybody that doesn't have them, because I know there's people out there. My parents were divorced when I was 13, and now I got them both here at my house.
Love it.
It's amazing, and not together, obviously, but anyway. Doris was great. So
Brian, coming from, growing up on the East Coast, we didn't always have television access. As cable grew over the years, yes, we would get Georgia, we'd get Florida, and eventually we got Texas. And there was always a splash of California wrestling on the Spanish UHF channels. If I'm not dating myself at this point, I don't know when that will happen. But David, growing up as an East Coast guy, I lived vicariously through the magazines, and I loved David. David was my favorite Von Erich. His passing, obviously tragic. Over the years, we've as fans, we've always heard he was going to be the guy, and I felt that he was going to be the guy, that he was world championship material, and was on a trajectory that didn't suggest anything less. Do you agree with that? Was David heading to the top of the mountain before he was taken?
100%. You're 100% correct, Jimmy. He was penciled in. I mean, he was supposed to be at the stadium show where Kerry wrestled. Blair.
So the belt was intended to go to David if David had lived.
I believe that it would have. Of course, I wouldn't know. The only people that would know 100% would be Fritz, and at that time would be Sam Muchnick, I guess. He's still just the NWA, the guys that run the heads of the territory. They say they're the ones that have the say, and they generally there was a dirt sheet then. But yeah, I think Dave Meltzer had the dirt sheet. And I love Dave. I think he's a creative, wonderful. I think he's a creative genius, actually.
That makes one of us.
Yeah. I mean, he's made a ton of money, but look how much money the guy's made. That's the game, guys.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
What's Dave
No
worth?
doubt.
100 million?
God only knows. Brian, did it bother you the way they glossed over the title change in the movie? Because to me, isn't that the pinnacle of the family? That's their goal. They wanted to. Fritz clearly, at least in the movie, he wanted one of his boys to get to where he was always being kept back from, the very top of the mountain. And Kerry gets there, and it's glossed over in the film. Do you have any issue with that? I did, but was it just a production thing because they couldn't afford to pull off a huge stadium kind of feel? What is it?
I honestly can't answer that.
Well, how'd you feel about it when you saw it?
I was so engrossed by the whole thing, honestly, Jimmy. I was, trying to pick up, every piece of my mind was just going back to so many memories.
Sure.
And each time I watched it, it would make me think of something else, when we're on the horses. We were on horses, Dave and Kerry. Oh gosh darn, man.
Does the film get better for you each time you see it?
Yeah, I mean, well, I saw it, I went to the movies first time and saw it, then I saw it on 2 plane rides. And I enjoyed all 3 times. I mean, when you know somebody, family, the entire family, like I was fortunate enough to get to know them over such a long period of time, almost a year and a half, you really get to be like family, and you understand the inner workings. They're all Fritz would always leave $100 bill in every vehicle in the glove box. He gave me $100 bill in every one of my checks every single week.
Wow.
He gave me an extra $100 bill. How many people he did that to, I don't know. But he did it to me every single week, and payoffs were fair, and they wouldn't take a dime rent. David wouldn't take a nickel rent. They treated me like a brother, and I'll be forever grateful for that. I had my Great Dane there.
That's great.
David's house, Bo, for the whole time. It's fantastic.
Right. Let me ask you this: we've had plethora of guys from WCCW. In the Von Erichs, I'm a huge fan. When I saw the movie in the theater, I wasn't very happy with it. I thought it was too much wrestling. But now that it's on Max, like you, I watch it over and over again, trying to get new stuff. But I'm going to ask you, and I'm not that you know, or maybe you do. Did David really pass away from an abrasion, or was it a drug overdose?
I honestly couldn't tell you because I know that he had medication in him, but he also had a bleeding, an infection. I I I know that David would not intentionally kill himself. He had way too much going for him. He was a happy guy. He was a fun guy. I don't care. He learned to be such a good heel, guys. Oh, I only wish that the match that I had with him in Robards Arena in Sarasota was on tape. And whoever has the Florida collection, it could be. I've just never seen it, but it was one of my. I just enjoyed that match unbelievably. I mean, it stands out in my mind as one of the best matches that I've ever had.
Mm.
That's. I mean, I've had some tremendous
And
matches.
you've had
Jimmy
some.
Garvin and oh God, just so many people. The guy, such an underrated talent, ravishing Rick Rude. I mean, main eventing places are just packed and just enjoying it, having the people just eat out of your hands. But David could make him. He was a great heel.
I'm on a big Von Erich's kick. Can you talk about all the sons and their problems and how you felt if things didn't end up the way they did, where they could have been?
Wow.
I mean, look, great,
Wow.
all of them great wrestlers.
Oh, yeah.
Made huge differences in the world of
Major
professional
impact,
wrestling.
obviously.
Thoughts on the Von Erich boys? And, everybody always says David was the best. What are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, David was the best,
I
and
agree
Jerry
with
was second. When I first got there in January of 1984, Bill Apter, Gordon Soley, Eddie Graham, George Neapolitano, everybody had heard about me in Oregon, and at that time I had legitimate 21.5-inch arms on steroids, of course, and I could do the Chinese splits.
Oy.
And so right away they wanted to push me, and I was doing other things. I was dealing cocaine, so I wasn't even thinking about being a world champion or anything like that. So what ended up happening is George Neapolitano and Bill Apter got me and Terry Von Erich on like 10, 15 front covers together, and then I get up to 20, 30 front covers, and I don't know how many front covers I signed yesterday. I never even knew existed.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have me as the sexiest wrestler of the year, if you can believe that.
You like them
Oh, you were
apples?
pretty sexy back then, bro.
Yeah, right. Well,
Pat Patterson says you're pretty hot.
He says that now.
Well, coming from him,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Welcome to Bend Over's pushing your
real
stool.
compliment.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I like to push him over and ram a railroad track up his ass.
You gonna hit that high note yet, huh? Ooh.
Well, he sings soprano. I can guarantee you that.
Did Fritz
real loud?
Did Fritz push the boys too hard, or do you think the boys are just the boys?
Well, Fritz trained Bruiser Brody too, so a lot of people don't know that. And like I told you before, Brody was supposed to be going in against Hulk, and Hulk was terrified of him.
Yeah.
And
too bad. We really missed out on an amazing program there. Brody versus Hogan.
yeah, but
Wow.
Hogan was. I don't know. He liked to control things, and he would have never. I can guarantee you, never controlled Bruiser Brody.
Right.
Bruiser Brody would have
Right.
made Hulk into jelly.
Person in the 1840s and 30s and 1850s was a slave, and they want to. What is giving a person today money for your ancestor being a slave? What is that gonna solve?
Nothing.
Nothing.
And you're right. But you know what, Brian? Just think about it. Just go back to what we spoke about, the Iron Claw movie. There's always got to be someone's fault. It's like it had to be Fritz's fault that the boys took their lives. The boys are responsible for themselves, right?
Exactly. They're grown men. Yeah, that's the pathetic. That's what really bothered me. I was angry when I first saw it, and then I'd have to reel myself in and say, "All right, man, it's Hollywood. I know what Hollywood does."
I got to ask you a question. In the opening part of the movie, where they're sitting at the breakfast table, and he gives the boys his pecking order on which one he likes better, he says, what did he say? Kerry, you're on top, and then it's Kevin, then it's David and Mike. But that list can always change. Well, like, what was your reaction to that? I remember because my wife knew nothing about it. So when she heard that, she's like, what a piece of shit. She says it in a movie theater. And I'm like, oof, I cannot believe it.
He never said that sitting at that table. Kevin and David knew that Kerry could get away with stuff that they couldn't. So if they did something wrong, they brought Kerry in the mix with them because they would get a lighter scolding. Literally. So they made Kerry the favorite. Fritz always loved Kerry because Kerry did so many things like Fritz. You know what I mean? He threw discus in high school and college like Fritz did, and just that superior body and the way he worked. Fritz loved that work ethic Kerry had, and but even when he was younger, he would let Kerry make it when he had to go off on David and Kevin. So,
Kerry had a body that could equal Schwarzenegger. I mean, it was almost
he even
perfect.
looked like Schwarzenegger when he was 20.
Yeah,
I got a picture of them.
Let me ask you this: you growing up with him and getting into high school. I mean, look, I know you're married now, but how often were you guys hooking up with women on a regular basis?
Every day, every time we went somewhere, it wasn't how big the house was and how much money it was going to make, it's how much stuff you got. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
I mean, literally, the success of the trip was how many times you got laid and not the money. So, because you're going to make the money, so it was my, But I'm married. I didn't meet my wife until I was 52 years old. She knows. She laughs about all that. She knows about my history.
Can I tell you how unfair it is, though, Brian? You get Kerry Von Erich, and I get Jimmy Farrow. Look at that. See what happens here?
Yeah, I was the only one cleaning up. Sorry, Mike.
All right, listen, Brian, couple of questions. I want you just to see if you could either debunk it or substantiate it. The passing of David, was it what they claim it was, or what in your belief, or was it drugs?
David nearly did not go to Japan because he had his stomach was bothering him. So the stomach deal was legit. All the boys knew that his stomach was hurting, and he nearly didn't go. They basically left it up to him, and he didn't want to miss the money and the trip, basically. But he was feeling bad. His stomach was hurting. I was there. I was there the day before he left, packing his bags and stuff. And he's like, "Ah, man, my stomach." So I know the what is it when you when they cut you open after you're dead? What's it called?
Autopsy.
Autopsy. The autopsy said that he died of enteritis. So I don't know if the toxicology was released, and I've always just I know there's stories of Brody grabbing stuff and flushing it and all that. I've never talked to Brody about that, but I don't have the answer for it. I know what the autopsy said, and that's what I'll stick with.
All right. Dark Side of the Ring, even Kevin says it. When Chris Adams used to get mad, his eyes would glow red. Is that true?
Yeah, he was.
Really?
Chris was great when he was straight, but boy, when he's a typical limey from England, when they drink, a lot of them, they just can't hold their liquor at all. And he was that way. When he was liquored up, he was terrible. He nearly got me killed over in Mexico. I don't know if y'all saw that, the Tale of the Territories, that deal where we did it. He nearly got me shot over there. I didn't know anything about him. I had just come back from Oregon, and we were in El Paso, and he said, "Hey, mate, you want to go across the border to Juarez?" I said, "Oh, yeah." We went over there, and we're in a bar. We're the only gringos in there, dude. I mean, literally. He's over there out cussing, talking about you effing Mexicans and all this shit, man. And I'm like, oh, my God. And then it went on, and these dudes are getting mad. And I see a dude reach for his gun over here. I was right by the back door, and I hauled ass out the back, and Chris got out of there. They're shooting. When I'm running through the parking lot, the dude's shooting his handgun, and it's hitting the cars around me. So yeah, watch that. It's on that Tale of the Territories. I told the whole story.
Crazy.
And the next morning he goes, "Well, what happened over there, mate?" I said, "You nearly got me killed." Well, that night when he came back and came in the room, I hit him in the mouth and knocked him down. What'd you do that for? I said, "Dude, you got me killed. If we got killed over there and they took us out in the desert, no one would ever, my family would never know what happened to me." I said, "Dude, are you nuts?" I didn't know anything about him at the time. So, but I learned real quick. I never went out with him again. So
yeah. So that's the last time you crossed the border with a British guy who can't hold his liquor.
Oh my God. Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know.
Nice.
So now I know.
Oh, you knew.
Well, they say F around and find out.
Yeah.
Mess around and find out. Yeah, I did.
We had a gentleman write us on our webpage a long story about Gino Hernandez, a breakdown of what actually happened to Gino. And look, we don't know anything, right? We hear stories all the time. In your opinion, was Gino an overdose, or do you think there was some funny business and that went on with that situation? Was he dealing drugs and got caught in a ring?
I don't know if I know he had in his toxicology report, he had cocaine in his system, but this is all secondhand news too. I didn't know I never did party with Gino at his house, never, and never. He was usually heel and I was baby face, so we didn't travel together. But super nice guy, great guy. But the stories that the people that were in the group in that his clique said that he may have gotten in too deep with some people, and there was some women over there that might have hot shotted him, but I can't confirm or deny that because I wasn't there, and I don't really know who knows the real story. If they're, you know what I mean? I don't know if anyone actually, if that's all speculation or not. So, because no one could ever find the girls that were over there. They found him 3 days after he was already dead for 3 days, and one of the guys that went over there and found him, they opened the door and the smell hit him, and Gino was on the ground. He was already turned black. Wow. The only reason they knew it was him is because his hair was like this long, because they did the deal at the Cotton Bowl. They shaved their heads and stuff. So they knew. They said he was laying there face down with a glass of orange juice, like dumped out, like he was getting up and going to the bathroom or something, So, but to tell you the truth, I don't know the story. Mine would be pure speculation, like everybody else.
Well, did you ever hear of a guy named John Royal? He was a drug trafficker. All right. Well, we're gonna let that one go. I just thought it was interesting with all these stories. You never ended up getting, we don't know, right? And everybody tells you all these many stories, and you finally try to.
Well, everybody loves a juicy story, but unless you're there, I mean, or unless you're talking to somebody that was there, and even somebody that was there, a lot of times they'll doctor the story up. So who knows?
Mike Graham and all, Mike Graham's a little wise ass sometimes. He thinks he knew everything, but he doesn't know shit from Shiola. Oh, God. And so he had everything handed to his ass. But anyway, so Mike says, "Oh, they don't want to do business with us." I said, "No, they don't want to do business with you, maybe, but they will do business with me." And so I went back. I got with Molly Miles on the West Coast. She was a vice president with Universal, and I cut a deal. They cut and run. Steve Kern and Graham cut and run, and Eddie Mansfield went in there and got a damn production deal. And I started from zip. I had no talent. I created all the talent. I trained them. I got in the ring and trained them. I taught them how to talk. I taught them how to work on television. I taught them how to cut promos. And when we rolled out, we were pretty good. And I built a lot of stars there. And I was proud of that.
I don't want to talk about the dead bad poorly, but what was your relationship with Mike Graham?
Well, a couple weeks. I mean, I knew him from when I worked, I worked with him when I was a television champion in Florida, when I was working with his father. and for his father. But I worked more with Jerry Briscoe. But as far as Mike Graham, I didn't have a lot of dealings with Mike. I just got along with him, but I'm not crazy about Mike. Never was.
What do I'm sure you saw the Dark Side of the Ring, and you're a famous wrestler, so you know the Graham sad story.
Well, you got 3 of them that killed himself.
Right. So do you feel like suicide is like something that is like genetic?
Yeah.
So can you elaborate on that a little more?
Well, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying that if you got 3 guys that killed yourself in one family, there's a problem.
Right.
And the Grahams had a problem. And I know that a lot of people were trying to make sure that Mike broke that, that kind of curse. And they were cursed. I mean, it's like they were, just a matter of time. His son killed himself before he did.
Mm.
So
Eddie, to explore the definition of a little bit more, is it basically a brain disorder that is passed through a certain family line? Is that the explanation for that? Is it some sort of mental disorder that is the pass along genetically? I'm just curious.
Here's what I believe. I believe that stuff like that can be passed on by the stinking thinking.
Right.
That goes in. Instead of saying, look, I'm never going to do that. Period. And get the mindset, killing yourself is the easy way out of everything. Okay. If you don't want to live anymore, okay, fine, kill yourself. But I think if you put the positive atmosphere out there with you in life every day, you're not going to have that stinking thinking. And that's stinking thinking. To want to kill yourself, that's stinking thinking.
Speaking of that, did you ever work with the Von Erichs in Texas?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, me and David were really good buddies. We used to train at the Sportatorium together with an old wrestler by the name of Tommy Siegler. And I told him, Siegler taught me a high spot, 1 tackle, drop down, hip toss, arm drag. And I used to do that spot every match I ever wrestled. Just, to say, thanks to Tommy. He had the whole package. He just couldn't talk. Good looking guy, great body, could work in the ring, but he just couldn't talk. And so as a babyface or a heel, you're no good really if you can't talk. There's very few guys, Jimmy Snuka was one that he didn't talk, but somebody talked with him, but he was so impressive that he would get over. But to go back to Von Erichs, David Von Erich was being groomed to be a world champion.
Mm.
And he could work. David could flat work. Out of all the Von Erichs, he was the best one.
Thank you. You just beat me to my question. I appreciate that because I believe the same thing. There it is, Mike.
Oh, I know. I don't believe. I know.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
I worked with all 3 of them. It's like,
what did you think upon the news of his death overseas? What was what are your thoughts on that?
Well, all of us in Texas, because I went into Dallas the second time. They put me with King Parsons, and Agbar was my manager, and Skandar Agbar.
Oh yeah.
And he was a legend. He was a good dude, man. And we went against the Von Erichs a bunch of times. And I mean, you'd have to fight them damn Von Erichs. They were stiff. And so, I mean, I used to love working with those guys. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, you knew you wasn't going to win anything. I mean, you could steal the belts with them because you were a heel, but that's the only way. Because the whole territory was wrapped around. They were like rock stars in Dallas, Texas. I mean, you never seen anything like that. I mean, when we were in St. Louis, I told you about me meeting this other pop star at the Playboy Club, and Kerry Von Erich came in, and we had Stevie Nicks sitting with us. and Carrie was with Stevie Nicks that night.
What?
Get out. Are you serious?
I'm serious as a heart attack.
Back off, Gold Dust woman.
Go a little deeper than that, Eddie. Come on.
Well, I can't.
Just
I mean,
gave
it's
a
like
song from Rumor, so help us out here, Eddie.
well, it wasn't no rumor. It's it was it was live and in color, brother. And so it's like, hey, we're sitting in the Playboy Club, and they were, you know, and they were getting their minds right. Just put it that way.
Oh, all right.
But the Von Erichs were really cool. The one that should have been dead is the one who survived.
Really?
You know what, man? You got to elaborate even more. I keep using the word elaborate, but it's like I heard he was the worst of them all. And
yeah, Kevin was the worst one.
Get out of here! Really?
Oh yeah.
You do realize Eddie? I'm sorry. You do realize to the public that the lone survivor has always come across like some sort of Captain America.
Oh, like Jesus. He just survived. That's it,
wow.
man.
He
was just, he just got the luck of the draw. Hey, they all
like
died.
Keith Richards? Is that what you're
and
getting
he
at?
got all the damn money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He didn't even share any with Lacey Von Erich. He kept it all.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Dude, I got to ask you this, man. when you're hanging around Kerry Von Erich and he's with Stevie Nicks.
No, Stevie Nicks was me, and he came and sat with me.
Oh.
Do you understand English?
Wait a minute. He took your Stevie Nicks? What?
No, I was with another girl, and I ain't going to call her. I'm not going to call her name. But she's real famous. She's real famous, but I'm not.
I don't know if you get much more famous than Stevie Nicks. Do you get much more famous than Stevie Nicks?
Stevie was my friend, you know, and Carrie met Stevie at the Playboy Club with me.
Okay.
And so a lot of fun.
Wow.
So they were just partying. There was no.
So what? They just.
I don't know what they did.
They disappeared.
I left the Playboy Club in St. Louis that night and got on a private jet and left.
And so where did you last see them?
At that table.
Together?
At that table.
Man, what a story. Listen, here's a question for you. Being a television producer yourself, I'm assuming you saw the Iron Claw. What did you think of it?
Oh
well, I don't know. I could have probably produced a better movie.
Fucking, I could have produced a better movie. Stop.
Yeah, I didn't really watch it. Lance Vaughn, which is one of the Von Erichs, he was in the movie, and he sent me the trailer, and so I watched it. And those Von Erichs are just lucky guys. You know, I mean, they didn't live long, so you can't say they're that real lucky. But it's like,
correct. Yeah.
They while they were living, they had a hell of a life.
Eddie, I always compared them to, like, Mike and I have done shows where we focused on great wrestling families, and I've always called them the Dallas Cowboys of wrestling families.
They're more like the JR.
Okay.
Family.
Well, you know them way better than us folks out here on, reading the magazines back in the day. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, well, they painted them like the greatest guys since sliced bread, and they were.
Yeah,
they were great. Let me tell you, I love the Von Erichs, and to this day, I still do. They're just great guys.
They're legends.
But Eddie, we had Scott Casey.
They're legends, all right, for a lot of different reasons.
We had Scott Casey on the show, and Scott Casey said they were not good guys.
Mm.
And I love Scott. God bless him. It's like one thing about with Casey. We drew a lot of money. Wahoo McDaniel, I'll tell you a story about Wahoo and me. So I had to deal with Wahoo to pick the babyface I wanted to work with in San Antonio. And so when I met Casey, I just watched him because he looked like the Marlboro Man.
Right.
Perfect guy, perfect babyface. Because we looked like two Bramer bulls. Even though he was 10 years, 15 years older than me, I was still, he looked young enough that we could work against each other and people would buy it. And they did. And with Casey, him being a babyface just hated the Von Erichs because if you go into Dallas, you ain't gonna do shit. You're gonna be, first, second, third, on the card. You're not gonna be in the main events because the Von Erichs got it.
Of course.
What's kind of like working with the Fullers in the NWA? Every territory you go with the Fullers, there's going to be a heel Fuller. There's going to be two babyface Fullers that win as welches to, Goldens to shit everybody. And it's like ridiculous.
People wonder how Vince conquered the territories, Monty.
Hey, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Vince did it New York style.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he went in and he took no prisoners. But when you talk about Scott Casey, that's probably why he would say the Von Erichs are not good. Because of that.
Right.
And I don't know why. I mean, everybody back in those days were like, I don't know, different. But Wahoo McDaniel took really good care of me. And I drew a lot of money for Wahoo. And Wahoo McDaniel taught me how to be a real star in the wrestling business.
I've been fortunate enough. There's usually got to be something, but so far with Wahoo, I'm amazed to continue to hear so many good things said about him.
Like, how did that affect you?
Well, I was 8. And
Holly,
I think maybe a part of me.
Mad at your
can you hear me?
And you're angry with him.
I think in the moment I was angry and scared. In the moment I was angry and scared. And I think I've just never been mad at my dad for what he did. I mean, I hate to, maybe I just hate to say that I am mad at my dad because I don't want to be mad at him. But there is probably there's a part of me that hates what he did and that he left us and that I've got these 2 amazing kids, son that looks a lot like him. Reminds me of him so much. So, but I think that maybe a part of me as a little kid just thought, it's not real. Kind of like when he died, I was in denial for a very long time about that he actually died. I would have dreams that he was still living and he was just hiding somewhere because I knew that he was in trouble with the law and stuff. So, I would I would have hope that he was just hiding out somewhere and hadn't actually died. Even though I was at his funeral and the wake and stuff. But I think now as an adult, it hits me a little more because I have kids that age and it makes me just hurt for him even more because I would never do that to my kids. I can't even imagine how much he had to have been hurting, to tell me something like that. But yeah.
Holly, I was going to
got
ask
through that
you
without
about,
crying.
Yeah, yes, you did. I was going to ask you about Uncle Chris, but even further, do you think that, you mentioned bipolar earlier and mental illnesses and stuff. Do you think that it's genetic? Because how does Chris go down that path too? And how does this happen to one family unless there's something medically connecting all of this? Sure, the business is insane and the bumps they take are horrible and the drugs they have to take to compensate their pain is terrible. But do you think there's anything to the genetic factor in any of this, considering Chris and the rest? And
yeah, I kind of do. Yeah, I think I kind of do because there's other people in our family, and I won't name names, but that unless they want to at some point, that who battle with mental illness. They don't have the drugs to go along with it to make it worse, but there are people in our family that are struggle with mental illness, but they're dealing with it in a different way. They don't have the same pressures that Daddy and my uncles had. And me and Kristen have talked about this a little bit, how, and a lot of, actually this is not just Kristen and I, but a lot of times when someone opens the door to suicide that you're close with, then it just makes it that much easier. It's like the door's been open and it's just an easier, you just kind of flow towards it a little easier. So yeah, I think it was both, you know. I think that there is definitely a genetic component to it. Someone can correct me if they're wrong, if I'm wrong. But
Let's switch gears a little bit. Outside of the worst Ric Flair I've ever seen, do you think that the Iron Claw did justice with the movie?
The worst Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Oh the worst Ric Flair. Oh my gosh, the casting. Jeez Louise.
Told you, Mike. I told you.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna interfere with that. Here's the reality.
No, you don't interfere with the
This
worst
is what
Ric
people
Flair in
don't
the
understand.
history of television. No, you don't. That was
Wait a minute.
awful. What?
But hold on. I want to explain something. They needed a star, so they get Zac Efron. If they're going to bring in a guy the size of Kerry Von Erich, what Kerry Von Erich looked in real life, where are you finding an actor to match off against that? They couldn't do that. They had to put a smaller guy next to Zac Efron just because it just would have looked stupid. It would have just looked dumb. You know what I mean? I mean, where do you find a Kerry Von Erich anywhere? But there isn't anyone out there that can even play that role.
Oh, we could have got a little closer though, couldn't we? I mean, I do like Jeremy Allen White. I think he's a great actor. But
you know who would have made a good one, Mike? You know what would have made a good Kerry? A younger Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just he'd have to like lean down a little bit because he was Schwarzenegger. But I think he would put long hair on him, let him go do it. That would have been.
I don't know where you're finding a Schwarzenegger, but here's what I wanted to ask Holly. So they play the movie starts. Right, you see Kevin, you're watching the whole thing, and finally, because I'm waiting, here's the moment. It's Kerry Von Erich, and here comes this guy, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now? Really?"
No, that's how I felt. I was on set in Baton Rouge with the director, and he's like, and I really love the director, Sean. He's a great person. He's so excited about the movie. And he's so excited to show us this wrestling scene. We're on set. We're in the moment all together, me, Ross Marshall. And it comes on and it's where they're running out to the ring. And you see Zach go out. And he looks awesome. And you see Daddy like hop in the little ring. And I was just like, no. Oh my gosh. And I'm just like, oh yeah, it's really good. It's awesome, but I'm thinking, oh no, I'm so disappointed. But then I was like, that's all I saw was a wrestling scene. So I'm like, hopefully the acting is going to be so good that it's not going to matter that he's just little in the ring. Like the acting's going to be so good. And they're going to show Daddy all this stuff, and just it was rough. It was rough. A good movie if you didn't know the Von Erichs.
Well, let me ask you this. Also, I thought there was such a real story to tell and too much wrestling. Like, what do you need to show Harley Race and Ric Flair? Who needed it? Just show the story of this family. My God.
Show the story. If they would have told the real story, gosh, it's so much better. It is, yeah. I mean, even if they would have, the Daddy didn't have a family and stuff, but I think that Daddy's struggle would have been so much more real and relatable had he had a family. And I know they didn't have time for all that, but it just could have been so much more impactful, to show this multifaceted guy, who's got it all, yet he still can't take this life, and yeah, that was really disappointing. Bummer.
Yeah, it was disappointing for me too, but my partner's seen it 57 times.
Well, because just don't even get to go there.
Have you?
He loves the movie. He loves it. Listen,
in fact, look, just call me a nerd, but like, I mean, come on.
You're a nerd.
It's all over my room. This guy is all over my room.
I love that.
Yeah.
I actually, on my wall.
Mine too.
So, oh, really? But I love that picture. But I will say, as a wrestling fan, growing up in the WWE, Kerry Von Erich was like, when he came to the WWE, I was invigorated to watch wrestling again. I got to ask you real quick about that, Holly. When he goes to the WWE,
yeah,
is he making crazy money? And were you guys set for life?
Yeah.
Even after he passes, everything was squared away?
No, unfortunately not. My dad did make a lot of money with WWE, and yeah, I mean royalties. We still get royalties now, but it wasn't like Daddy did not do a good job paying his taxes. So unfortunately, my mom was left with like major back taxes after he passed away. So she had quite a battle. Yeah, she did. And so she's grieving and she's having to deal with all that. I vaguely remember that, the stress that she was under with all of that. But yeah, I mean, but we had nice houses, fur coats. My mom they had all the nice jewelry, all the nice things. You know, Daddy didn't spare any. I mean, we didn't want for anything. I mean, we got everything and anything we wanted. But, you know, like I said, but you got to spend your money wisely and save and pay your taxes.
Yeah. Did IRS?
Yeah, we weren't
come to the
left with much.
Oh God, unbelievable.
IRS came.
IRS stopped by. He didn't bring DiBiase with him. Oh God.
Wait a minute. No, I got to ask that question. So the IRS really just comes and says, by the way, your husband hasn't paid his taxes in the last 5 years. You owe us $2.8 million or something ridiculous like that.
If my mom could tell you what exactly happened, but I just remember and know that she had to. There was a lot going to taxes. Yeah.
That sucks.
So anyway, I've worked hard for every single cent I have. We were never given really anything from anyone, Lacey and I. So yeah, there wasn't much from Daddy. And then even, you know, after Daddy died, I mean, his royalty checks weren't coming to us until I was in my 20s. WWE figured out where the money should actually be going. And yeah, it's complicated. But yeah, I mean, but I'm really proud of Lacey and I and my mom for, you know, how she raised us and taught us never to depend on other people for money. So, you know, we have a big name and we're really proud of it, but everything that we have earned in our lives, we've earned ourselves.
Holly,
but hey, now I get to hang out with you guys and talk about my dad, which is super cool. And, you know, people are still loving the family and making action figures and stuff.
There you go.
Super cool. So we've had a piece of that. Now that people know we exist, it's cool.
Oh, wait, Jimmy, before you ask that question, I have to ask another question.
Yeah.
So when they make the movie about the Von Erichs, do they have to pay you guys because they're using your likenesses and your names? Or they try to sneak that by you guys?
That would be so awesome. So because they're public figures, they don't have to pay you. They don't have to pay you if you're a public figure. So they can just take your story and make a movie, apparently. But we were there is a attorney for movie people, I don't know what they're called, who was saying that if they do take your likeness and totally create this story that then no one else could make, technically they should have paid at least Uncle Kevin for life rights to the story. Technically they should have done that. That would have been the right thing to do, but they didn't do that. They didn't let Uncle Kevin, like everyone kind of knows now, our family didn't find out about the story until it was on the internet. So, and we weren't invited to set until the last week of filming. So, you know, and Sean had been working on the story for 8 years, which is insane. If you're that big of a Von Erich fan to me, and I know that Sean was a big fan and loved my dad, says he respected our family a lot. If you're that big of a fan, I would think that you would really want to get the story right with the family. I mean, he had so many great resources he could have gone to. Brian, Uncle Bill, Uncle Kevin, my mom, but he chose not to do that.
Well, I think I think it goes beyond that, though. Like, he should pay the family royalties. I mean, I'm sure that movie made a lot of money. And, you hear the stories. Again, I don't know how accurate they are, but you hear the stories that Kevin struggled for a really long time. You just said that your mom had to struggle, right? Because she had
Yeah.
to make up all that money. I mean, look,
Yeah.
this is an iconic family that you're
Yeah.
you're now making all this money off of. Pay these people. My God, give
Yeah.
it a break already, will you? Jeez.
I think that would have been the right thing to do. I think that would have been the right thing to do. Even if they're just like, hey, we're going to donate this amount to this charity in the name of Von Erichs. Like, that would have been cool. But yeah, there was nothing. And what was the biggest kicker for me was when they made A24, the production company, made an action figure of Uncle Kevin. It was Zach as Uncle Kevin, but still on the box said Kevin Von Erich. They made that action figure, and did Uncle Kevin get a scent of that? No. Did Uncle Kevin know that that was being created? No. That really is what got to me, and I couldn't believe that Uncle Kevin wasn't more upset about it, because it was just like, hey, we're going to steal your story, and then we're going to make more money off of your likeness with an action figure. I really just got to me. So I called A24 and I was like, you're not making a Carrie Von Erich one, right? Because if you do, I mean, I wouldn't have been as nice as Uncle Kevin.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. And by the way, just so everybody knows, when Dark Side
I mean,
of the Ring
not
uses
that I could have done anything, but I just would have given him a piece of my mind.
I was going to say, when me and Jimmy are on Dark Side of the Ring, we get paid. We make sure we get paid. You're not using our stuff without paying us at least something. Enough. That's ridiculous. Jimmy, it's all you, bro. I cut you off a million times.
As they should.
Well, not for nothing. I'll say it. They sound like real scumbags. It's very scum. No. And Holly doesn't even have to nod in agreement, but they sound like absolute scumbags who not only lost their fandom, they lost their humanity. What the hell is that I just heard? Are you serious? That makes me dislike them even more.
I know.
Oh, that's horrendous.
I hate to say that, honestly, but I think A24, I think they did cross the line a little bit like that. And they did try. I mean, in Dallas, they gave us a great welcome with the premiere and stuff. That was really cool. But I mean, I feel like they were kind of like, here you go. We'll hold this little premiere. Well, it was a big premiere. We'll hold this premiere for you and have a big party. And then you guys can just be quiet. Act like you support the movie. Let us have your endorsement. And then we're going to take all the money. And by the way, we're going to make even more money off of merch.
Yeah, that's right.
That really got me. But A24, I'm not the biggest fan of A24 anyway. I don't really agree with the kind of movies they make and stuff.
I'm gonna officially stand by you, Holly, and I'm gonna say Monte The Pharaoh only watched that Von Erich movie 2 times this year. Not 20, just twice. All right, and that is it. We're done watching it. What do you think, Jim?
What do I think? I think thanks for the pizza and the crappy crumb cake you gave me for the luncheon. Now go F yourself. That's what I think. This is horrible. And Mike, you always wondered why I never go to those. You always wondered why I never go to those office luncheons, because I'm overworked and underpaid to begin with. I don't need your free pizza for one day. Save me your thank yous. Speaking of internet garbage, Holly, please help me with this one. I love how Mike gave me all the difficult questions. Thanks, Mike.
Well, I got to be the good guy here, so
I know.
I'm sorry.
I know. I think I'm doing all right holding my own treading water with these questions, but
you're doing all right. You're nervous, but it's okay. She won't bite.
Yeah. But what are you going to do?
What I hear. When did they start to spiral out of control with the drug use?
Oh, that was everybody in those days. That was just you got young kids with a certain amount of money and fame, so they end up doing the things they probably shouldn't be doing. Got themselves in a little bit of trouble. They Carrie's the one that really had the problem, I think. And his biggest problem was he just got caught, for Christ's sake. He broke his foot on a motorcycle. And I think then he got popped with cocaine or something. And, a judge said something like, oh, you do this again, we're going to send you off. And then I think he got popped again with some cocaine. And so he was afraid he was headed off to jail, and plus he'd had the accident with his foot and, had the problem there. So things were kind of spiraling a little bit on him. But do I think that they're any worse than any of the rest of us that were there? No. Some were a little more into some of the stuff. Some were into maybe just smoking weed. Maybe some got into a little bit more. But I didn't ever think it was really that bad. There was, there's always a little bit of something around anywhere you go. And did I think Kerry was really deep into it? No, not really. No. But he got himself into a situation that I think he got scared, and then he just, offed himself, which was, oh man, too much. David was a whole nother story. David, I don't know. David was a, what do they call it? Can't think of, a purger.
Mm.
Where they'll eat food and puke it up. So, that's, I was with him the night that he moved on. That's a whole other story, but.
So I know you've told that story a lot, right? And I get it, but I guess the question I have for you, you hear the different stories, and again, it's been clear at a lot of points that it was like an intestinal issue. But then you hear stories that Brody was throwing drugs out of his room. You were there. I saw you on a WWE documentary way back where you said it was the case of, not a drug issue. Is that the case?
Yeah. It wasn't a drug issue. No, because I had been with him all day. I flew over there on a plane with him. We sat in LA in a bar waiting. Yes, this is what everybody did when they went to Japan. You go to LA, you wait for the plane, but you're sitting in a bar with, then all the wrestlers that are going on the trip start showing up, and you guys are having a few beers, and then pretty soon it's get on the plane, and on the plane you have a few more beers, and then on the way to Japan they feed you relatively early, so then you eat a nice meal, then you fall asleep, and when you wake up you land, and then you get off the plane, and generally you'd go to like a meeting with the press. They'd ask questions, and that's where you stayed as baby faces and heels and talked tough about each other. And then afterwards, you kind of got out of there, and then we went and ate some more. And then we went over to Ribera Steakhouse and ate, and ordered steaks and potatoes and stuff, big meals. And he had like two of them. David had two of these meals, right? And it's like, holy Christ, how do I eat so much? Well, anyway, so we'll keep going. And eventually we get back to the hotel. And so, of course, we're not finished yet. We got to go into the bar and have a couple of drinks, So we go into the bar and, have a couple of drinks, and he orders up some food. And it's like, wow, Jesus. And then he disappears. He says, I got to run up to my room. So he runs up to his room. Shit, I don't know. What the hell? And then he comes back down in a few minutes and he starts eating more food. Jesus. Yeah, well, okay. He was tall, big guy. What the hell? And, then it was pretty much time to head on off. And he goes, hey, Bill, you want to come up to my room? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, what do you got? What's going on? So we go up there. Go in there and sit down, chit chat, laugh and giggle because we're the same age and out of the same territory, and So he says, "Well, okay, I'm going to call my wife," and I says, "Yeah, I think it's time for me to get to bed, right? All right." So I'm out of there, but I leave him on. I guess what I'm trying to say is on the short side of the bed where it's closer to the wall. The other side's wider. So over here is where the phone is. Well, he sits on that side. Okay, see you. And he's getting the phone and, okay, bye. I'm gone. I go to bed, get up the next day. Everything's cool. Everybody's fine. you know, going along. I never see David all day, but I figured, well, you know, he's the star coming over here, and then you know, they might be taking him out, go someplace, go do something. And he was gone. I didn't see him all day. Now we're getting on the bus, and you know, everybody's on the bus, and Brody's on the bus, and I'm on the bus, and everybody else is on the bus. Where's David? And then in comes, I can't think of his name, the referee over there, the one referee that spoke enough English so that he could referee the Americans match. He comes on and goes, Brody, come. And I'm sitting right behind Brody, you know, if you're in a bus, so you're kind of like, huh. So there that goes. There goes Brody off with the Joe Higuchi, that's his name, I believe, and the referee's name. So they go off, and in the distance we hear sirens, you know, and all the guys are all looking at each other. We're all looking like, what? Whoosh! We all get up out the door. We followed Brody and Joe Higuchi in, and you go up one flight of stairs. He was on the first floor, I guess it would be the second floor, in a corner room, and in the hotel person unlocks the door, and we all go in. Brody goes in, I go in, Joe Higuchi goes in, and here come all the other boys right behind us. We go, and it's in a room where you kind of come in and you go around a bend. The bathroom was here, so you went around it. And when you came in, there's the bed. Well, there's David laid back on the bed. He's as blue as a pair of jeans, man. You know, he's right where I left him when he was going to make the phone call. And he was blue. Oh, God. So here in come, now you're hearing the ambulances are arriving, and they come running up, and they come in, and they start working on him on the bed. Well, the bed's bouncing blue. They can't do anything. So Brody and I are standing. I'm at his head. Brody's at his feet. So they wanted him on the floor. So I grab David's hands or his wrists. And Brody's got his feet, and we slide him to the edge and, put him on the floor. And when his head drops back, I've got his head right here. His head drops back off the edge of the bed. Out of his mouth comes just like a bunch of food just right out of his mouth. And then the guy's wiping it away and trying to pump him and wiping it away. But he was gone. He was gone there. And they tried, but there was nothing. And do I think it was drug induced? No.
Until the next night.
Yeah.
And it's just that's the way it was back then.
Hey,
and,
Scott, I want to kind of bring you back to...
I don't know.
I want to bring you back to the WCCW. I want to talk to you about the Von Erichs. What was it like working with the Von Erichs, and what did they have Did you see the problems they were having growing up into this industry under Fritz?
Well, I'm going to piss a lot of Von Erich fans off, but they did drugs, I mean, we went to Israel, and they had the president of the country and a bunch of other people there, movie stars who I didn't know who they were. Anyway, they could not get the Von Erichs sobered up enough. I don't know whether they were on what they were on, but they were just a mess, and people love them still to this day. And folks, I liked them. I had fun with them. I never ran with them. They ran with the brothers. That was it. They didn't run with the guys. Chris Adams, you name it. All the guys that wrestled were just, I don't have to put, they were into themselves.
Why couldn't Fritz, why do you think Fritz couldn't keep them in order? Because if you think about it, if they didn't have the problems they had, like you said, that territory with Kerry and David and Kevin, God knows what you guys could have done. Gino, Chris Adams.
Yeah. Bruiser Brody
Well,
stopping by.
we had a match at, what was it? Where the Cowboys used to play football. Texas Stadium or something like that. Anyway.
In Arlington.
We almost sold the whole damn place out. It was like 40, 50, 60,000 people there. And I don't know, it's just the people just loved them. And I was friends with them. But only one time, Kerry, he'd come in there and get himself ready or whatever. Well, you put itching powder in my tights, and I didn't know it. Ooh. And I told him, I said, "You son of a bitch." He started laughing. He said, "All right, here's a pair of mine. Go out there and do your thing." But they stayed with each other. It's like the rest of us were just part of the show. I'll give you a prime example. Kerry was given a new Corvette each year that he was there to drive. It was like they were gods or something, and they were promoted that way.
Scott, were they safe? Were they safe to work with? I mean, considering you're telling me that they were high half the time, were they safe to work with? Did you ever worry about that?
Well, I'll tell you a story. Ric Flair was wrestling Kerry for the belt. Kerry was so fucked up. I'm sorry, folks. I was there. It happened. And he was so fucked up, he couldn't even get in the ring. But they put him in a ice cold shower to wrestle for the belt. They had a sellout crowd. He finally got in the ring. He had a match. It was a good match. And how he could do that the way it was, I don't know. I really don't. But that's that was his lifestyle, And
but did you
tell me a guy that was nuts because, what did he do? Shoot himself in the chest with a pistol? Yeah.
Yeah.
And another one, drugs.
Yeah.
And I hate saying things bad about the dead, but it was a different world. It really was, And the way they did the thing was different. That's all I can say. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to talk bad about the dead, but goddamn, when they were alive, they would do silly, stupid shit. Yeah. What Kerry did, rode a motorcycle and tore his foot off, and they put it back on. Didn't last. He had a prosthetic foot, and that's just the way it was.
As a wrestler in that organization, though, did you guys feel comfortable enough to go to Fritz and say, "Get the boys under control"? You guys are blowing this here, or
would anyone dare?
They could have gone out and kissed the monkey's ass, and people would have loved it. They didn't care. Still, man, it was his business, and it was his boys. So what are you gonna do? If you were a heel, you can make some extra money, but as a baby face, you're not gonna do it simply because they were the wrestling mecca. And like I said, I apologize to the fans that love him and that would. I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but it was tough sometimes, and just the way it was,
Hey, Scott, we're about out of time. We're going to hit you something with something called the Pharaoh's Final Question. We want to thank you for coming on Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. It's an honor to have such an icon like yourself on our show.
because I was never a threat. A lot of guys are your buddies until you become a threat.
And then,
Of course, financially, then they go, whoa, everything changes. You know?
right. You know, we had Joe Henning on, and you worked with Kurt Henning. What was your relationship with Kurt Henning? And the more important question I have for you, Len, is you've been around a long time. You've had a lot of friends in this industry, and you've watched a bunch of them pass away. How do you deal with that?
Brother, you know what? It's like I believe in the good Lord, and when it's time, it's time. You know, so if they go and something happens, that's what happens. You know what I mean? What can you do? You know what I mean? I miss the guys too. Like Kurt. Kurt was a hell of a guy. I'll tell you what good one on Kurt. Kurt was he was always pulling ribs. He always liked to pull stuff. John Nord had a show for me in Minneapolis. Kurt was on it. I was on it, and Johnny and a bunch of guys. So I flew to Minneapolis. We were working territory in Dallas for Von Erichs, right? Flew to Minneapolis for one night. After it's over, of course, we're partying. I'm sitting there. Kurt, how's he on my beer? Okay. I wake up the next morning. I'm on the couch. Johnny kicks me in the butt. Says, "Come on, Lee, let's go. We got to catch a plane back to Dallas." Okay. So let me wash my face. I got up. I washed my face. I looked up in the mirror, and I had one eyebrow. I went, son of a... I heard Johnny laughing his ass. I already knew it. So we get in the van on the way back to the airport, and I knew it was Candy, and I called Kurt. He goes, "Oh, what happened, Gruff-son?" He starts talking like that. "I talked to Master Fuji. Maybe we get this figured out for you." "Oh, big problem." I'm crushing my hair, right? I love Kurt to death. He was always pulling something. You know what I mean?
You know, you brought up the...
Right, not long before he passed away, he came and stayed at my house in Portland. Whenever Don Owens passed away, he came to do a eulogy, right?
Right.
And he stayed at my house, and we drank Jack for Don Owens. We got all messed up. Had a good time. Kurt was a good guy.
Now, you brought up the Von Erichs. What was it like working for the Von Erichs, Fritz, in WCCW and working with the boys?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, bro. They were over so strong. You didn't have to do it. It was so easy. They're over. They just look at the crowds like Dusty Rhodes. Just go crazy, right? All those boys. But working for them was like Kev. I worked with Kevin a lot. I worked with Kerry Von Erich a lot. And different. I worked with him in other territories too. But when I tell you about the one, because it was Mike, the redheaded one, the one that OD'd. They found him out.
There was David in Japan, and then Mike.
Mike. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you how bad. Sometimes I was wrestling Mike, and we're on nationwide TV, Sportatorium in Dallas, and so what's his name? Bronco Lubitsch, your referee, right? He had part of the office too. He comes here, "Lenny, you got Mike." He takes me in this room. Mike's sitting there lacing his boots up, sitting on a bench, right? "You got Mike tonight." So I go, "Bronco, how you want me to take the fall with a call?" He goes, yeah, right, Lenny, right. He laughs, right? And so while we're talking, Mike goes to lace his boot and falls off the bench backwards. He's so screwed up. I look at Bronco and go, "Bronco, you want me to put him over? We're on nationwide TV." He said, "Just do it." And he goes, and Mike sets up, falls backwards again. Now I got to go out there and work with this son. I said, "Get a headlock and do not let go until I tell you." And I just, went through some shit and then took him down wrestling, beat the hell out of him. Then he put the claw on me and put him over. But it's like, holy shit, some of the stuff we had to go through.
Let me ask you, working down there, you hear about Kerry had a lot of problems, Mike had a lot of problems. You never heard about Kevin, though. Was Kevin as bad as the rest of them?
No, he wasn't. I don't think so. He didn't hang out as much and do as much. He's a little straighter. He's the only one still here.
That's true.
Yeah.
Did you see the movie The Iron Claw? Any thoughts on that?
I seen some of it, but it's more. I didn't really. It was more like about the sadness of their life and all that. There was a lot of other stuff they could have added to it, but it wasn't to me that great of a movie. But
what would you have wanted
on the Bruiser Brody subject? But tonight, I wanted to know: can you give the fans any closer insight about that night that you may not have? I'm sure you've been asked this 1,000 times. Is there anything that you may want to disclose that we may not know? about the stabbing of Brody, and I would really like to get your personal feelings about Carlos Colon.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and you can pick and choose what you hear now that
Fair
you
enough.
felt like you didn't. You probably heard it then, but didn't quite. You know, sometimes you watch a movie and you miss something, then you watch it again and say, "Oh wow," you know, I just noticed that. So sometimes just by telling the story again helps a great deal. It was so strange with me and Brody. Me and Brody been known each other since the 70s. I first met him, he was working in Amarillo, Texas. And he just got through playing college football and everything. And we worked together some then. We worked all over. But then I went to Von Erich territory in Texas. And I went in as the Black Superman. That's when I first started wearing the Superman suit. And George Scott was the booker. When George Scott left, and left Brody as the booker, Brody said, Tony, George Scott said, don't worry, Brody going to take care of you. 1 week after Brody took the book, he didn't book me for no shows. He didn't book, at that time, the Dingo Warrior for no shows. With the Dingo Warrior working back and forth between Japan.
Just in case fans don't know, Dingo Warrior ended up being the Ultimate Warrior in the WWE.
It became the Ultimate Warrior.
Yes.
But at that time, he was the Dingo Warrior, and he was working back and forth between Japan and World Class Wrestling. And Brody left us at home. One day, Brody called me and said, Tony, I got your book. So I went down to Fort Worth, Texas to do the TV because I figured, you know, because I was traveling back and forth out of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was the only place I could wrestle because Vince had blackballed me everywhere else. So the only place I could work during that year was World Class Wrestling and Puerto Rico. So I was going back and forth in Puerto Rico. So when I got there, Brody said, well, I made a mistake, you're not booked. So I got so pissed off, and you can ask some of the guys that was around during that time, I challenged Brody to a fight on the parking lot. I invited him out in the parking lot.
Nice.
And then a guy came up, his name was Erich Razor or something like that.
Eric Embry?
Embry.
Eric Embry, look
Eric
at
Embry.
you!
He was there.
Florida.
So if you talk
Eric
to
Embry.
Eric Embry, you ask him about that. So I wanted to fight Brody. So I called out the parking lot. Eric Embry came out and said, Tony, you better leave. They called the cops on you.
What?
And I said, F the cops. They said, Tony, these cops will shoot you. Get in your car, get the fuck out of here. I got in my car, I left. I didn't see Brody anymore until he came to Puerto Rico. So he was there for the whole week. I didn't say nothing to him the whole week. Finally, we was in the gym working out. Brody walked over to me. I laid the waist down. I figured we're gonna go at it.
Oh boy.
He held his hand out to me. He said, Tony, I'm sorry for what happened to you in Texas. I had nothing to do with that. He said the reason that they got rid of you and the reason that they will not book the Warrior is because both y'all got better physique than Curry Von Erich. See, Curry was in an accident. He wrecked. He was in a auto accident and he lost 1 foot, so he was out of the scene for a while. So now he's coming back. Well, you know, Curry had a great physique too.
Yeah.
So the Ultimate Warrior was lucky. He went to Vince and became the Ultimate Warrior. I went to Puerto Rico. So after me and Brody, we talked everything. He said, but I promise you, Tony, I promise you, things will be different here. He said, I waited a long time to get in down here. Now, I knew then he wasn't talking about wrestling because he'd been wrestling there for years.
Promoting?
He bought in. He gave them money he bought some of the territory. He bought some shit.
So whose shares did he take?
From what I hear, I'm not for sure because I'm not in the office. I hear he took Gorilla Monsoon.
Wow.
Shares. Because Monsoon has shares.
Barely nigga beat him up.
Just talking about the Von Erich boys, did you see them doing all the drugs that they were doing at such a young age, and did you try to give them some advice, or you just didn't get involved in that type of thing?
No, I didn't get involved, but man, I'm not gonna work with you jacked up like that anymore. I told Bill Wise all of them, man, I'm not working with him walking around like a zombie around me. Broke my leg or back or something.
Well,
Well, that's got to be scary, right? Because you're in the you're in the locker room. You're seeing these guys getting all high, and you got to run a program with them. Are you like, I'm not? Yeah.
And there's that spot where he's supposed to be dumping you on your head.
Look at this idiot.
That might be a little worrisome.
Are you really kidding me? Harley and I was down there in Oklahoma City. Kerry Von Erich tied his damn bootlaces up together. He got up about broke his damn leg.
Oops.
It's time for him to go to the ring. He's all spider wet in his boots.
Did he like?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Is there a part of you that? But is there a part of you?
The Texas tornado.
No, it's like he still had his foot at that point.
Y'all see that shit? That wasn't good.
No, but I mean,
that dumb fuck.
No, you can curse. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. We're ready. And his shit's all laced together. Me and Harley looking at it.
That makes for some drop kick. Oy.
Damn, Kerry, you think you ought to start all over again? That's what Harley said. I think you need to start all over again, Kerry. Look at your boots. You dumb.
Oh, my God.
But don't you? Do you sit down with some of these guys? Like, come on, man. You're throwing your life away.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Grandma because most of the stuff you see about your family in the news, most of the talk is about Fritz.
Yeah.
Tell us about Grandma. What was Grandma like?
Mimi. Mimi was a Southern lady. She said Pilla, and she's from Mississippi. She was really like a lady, like a little debutante. She was very big on us having manners, and we were finally the girls that she wanted after having 6 boys. And she loved, taking us out on the 4-wheelers and pointing out all the beautiful flowers. And she was a painter, as you probably know now because of the movie, that part. She actually painted in the movie. She painted beautiful things. And I don't know, she had a big in the Edom house, the big 9,000 square foot home they had on the ranch. Downstairs, she had her own basement that had one of those ovens where you could fire your own ceramics. So she made like dolls and all kinds of things. And she was really loving. She was funny. She was witty. She was complicated. She'd been through a lot with, losing all of her sons. So, as I grew older, I kind of had questions like why we weren't closer or why she didn't reach out to me as much. She moved to Hawaii. I had some trouble with that. But I think she'd just been through so much in her life that she just, I don't know if she disconnected or what, but yeah.
With the Iron Claw, though, right? They made Fritz look like this taskmaster, but I also felt like they made your grandmother look like a very cold and calloused woman. Was that another misrepresentation of her or of that family?
Yes, it was. Yeah, she wasn't like that. She was just really great with conversation. She liked to have conversations. Actually, she was very open about how she felt about things too, and she was, like I said, she was really witty. She's so funny. There's this Atkinson gene that Mimi had. Mimi must have passed on to Daddy and Uncle Kevin and Kristen and Lacey and my cousin Jill. They all have this, and Marshall. They all have this hilarious, witty gene. I think Ross has it too. I didn't get it. And it came from Mimi, and just loves to laugh and just, they just think of the funniest things. And like I said, I didn't get it unless I've been drinking a lot of alcohol, and then it kind of comes out, but I need help. But yeah, that's how she was. So in the movie, cold and disconnected. So I wouldn't say that, but I think I know she had some darker sides because of what she had been through, but I didn't see that. And she was always willing to talk and be there for us. So.
Holly, if I can ask you, and I know it's obviously sensitive stuff, but your Uncle Kevin's been asked if he blamed your grandfather, Fritz, for the passing of the boys and the horrible tragedies that just seemed to plague the family. Do you feel that your grandmother may have felt that way, that it was Fritz's fault? I mean, he was portrayed as a taskmaster.
Well, I don't think that Mimi blamed Granddad. I don't think she did. From what I've heard, I don't think that she did. I think there's probably some situations, where it was just like with any, parenting relationship you have with the husband and wife, you always think like, okay, you could have done that better. You could have, for example, Uncle David going to Japan. Should he have gone being that sick? Probably not, but did Granddad push him? Yeah, he did. So, Mimi probably blamed Granddad a little bit for allowing that. I don't know. Maybe she blamed herself too for not stopping it. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Granddad was hard on him. I know that. But he wasn't a villain. He loved them so much. He just expected them to be as great as they were, yeah. It's hard to know what mental battles people are, feeling or facing. You push them too hard.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but like you talk about in sports, like let's just call McEnroe's father. We'll just use John McEnroe. Grab a great athlete out of the air. His father drove him too, and drove him to be a millionaire. And these guys, these children, they were kids. I don't know if children's the right word, but they eventually became millionaires, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you off.
And so, exactly. No, I was just, to your point, yes, if they were all living and succeeding, then it would be because of Granddad and his push towards greatness. But yeah, we always talk about everyone wants someone to blame, and it is easy to blame Granddad. And I think my sister might a little bit, just off the stories that she's heard. And then whenever I think of Granddad not answering the call when Uncle Kevin was warning him about Daddy, like, of course that really hurts, but I don't want to blame Granddad. And so I just don't let my mind go there. Daddy had made up his mind about what he was going to do. And, if Granddad or Uncle Kevin would have stopped him in that moment, there might've been, just another time that he would have decided to do what he did, because he was hurting and he was ill.
So can you go further into that? Because in the documentary, you tell a story I guess you never had told before, that you were sitting at a restaurant as a young woman or a young girl, and he says, I'm going to take my own life. And he kind of puts that on you, which I thought was really rough. I was like, and I agree, there must be something wrong when an adult like that throws that on their daughter. First of all, how difficult is that to be able to handle? And what was your father's illness? Was it just mental illness from drugs, or just mental illness in general?
Well, I think it was mental illness in general, brought on by like probably some post-traumatic stress and things that he had been through, So if you think about being in a family with two parents who lost a child that young with Uncle Jackie, there's that heaviness over your family already. And then Daddy and they all lost Uncle Dave, and then they lost Uncle Mike, and then they lost Uncle Chris. I mean, he was already battling so much from that. And then, the foot, feeling like a cripple and a fraud. He's not being his true self. And he's got this drug addiction. And then he's got this beautiful wife that he loves so much that just like can't, isn't going to just stand by and be, abused physically and mentally, and you're just about to lose everything. He just had a lot. I mean, a lot going on, and he had depression, and we know that there's some genetic components to mental illness, especially like depression and bipolar and things like that. So I think it's all of the above, and the drugs it's part of why he probably had an affinity towards using drugs, I guess. But woo.
Now, welcome to New York, Adam, my man cave.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. So yeah, all of the above. But yeah, so I do. I think about my dad and the relationship that we had and the fact that he wanted to tell me something like that. And that just proves like how much he was hurting and how very, very lonely he was and how he probably needed someone he trusted and deeply loved and that loved him that deeply. I don't know, he just needed to get it out and tell somebody. I don't know. Or, sometimes I've thought like maybe he just wanted to give, I don't know, not like a warning, but like, I don't know, but to ease the pain when it did happen. I have no idea. I can't even imagine. Honestly, I have a 6-year-old and we're so close and he speaks to me like he's an adult. And so I could see where I could confide in him, if I had no one else. But yeah, it hurts to think back on that story and that time. But,
so let me ask you this. Let me ask you this then. This gets laid on you at such a young age, and then eventually he does take his life, right? What kind of mental stress and damage did that put on you as the person? And Jimmy, I'm afraid to ask this question because last time I asked a question like this, I got screamed at by a guest, so I don't want to get screamed at by Holly. But on a serious note, how did that affect you?
Well, I was 8. And
Holly,
I think maybe a part of me, can you hear me?
And you're angry with him.
I think in the moment I was angry and scared. In the moment I was angry and scared. And I think I've just never been mad at my dad for what he did. I mean, I hate to, maybe I just hate to say that I am mad at my dad because I don't want to be mad at him. But there's a part of me that hates what he did and that he left us and that I've got these 2 amazing kids, son that looks a lot like him. Reminds me of him so much. So, but I think that maybe a part of me as a little kid just thought, it's not real. Kind of like when he died, I was in denial for a very long time about that he actually died. I would have dreams that he was still living and he was just hiding somewhere because I knew that he was in trouble with the law and stuff. So, I would I would have hope that he was just hiding out somewhere and hadn't actually died. Even though I was at his funeral and the wake and stuff. But yeah, I think now as an adult, it hits me a little more because I have kids that age and it makes me just hurt for him even more because I would never do that to my kids. I can't even imagine how much he had to have been hurting, to tell me something like that. But yeah.